Chapter 596. Since he was involved, he had to bear it himself. This was not something that Wu Tong could handle. When everything was over, he could continue to study happily. At that time, his sister would return to the 5 capitals as the bureau chief of the Yanjing district branch. At the very least, it would be a peaceful transfer. The old man would really be the man under the protection of the bureau chief. No, it seems like I am the bureau chief? Forget it, my scheme is different from hers. My scheme is not open to the public, so it can't scare ordinary people. Her scheme is better. He drove directly to the Dechuan Provincial Stadium in the city. Looking at the magnificent decorations of the huge stadium, Chen Guang was quite satisfied. Hey, look after it for me. You mustn't damage this statue. It cost a lot of money. If you damage it, there's no time to make it again. Little Tsong's noisy voice came over. Chen Guang turned his head to look. What the hell did I just see? A 7-meter-tall statue. This was not important, but why did the face of the statue look exactly the same as the old man? Brother Little Tsong, you really know how to play. Looking at the similar hairstyle on the statue's head, then touching his bald head, Chen Guang teared up. He had accidentally poked a sore spot. Sigh, a head full of beautiful hair. Forget it. Don't think about sad things. Just be a happy little bald head and welcome a new life. Little Tsong had made such a huge statue to be placed in such a conspicuous place. It was more or less in line with Chen Guang's intentions. The effect of self-promotion and hype would definitely be outstanding. After all, not many people could be as shameless as him. Of course, there were also negative effects. There would definitely be people who would be unhappy. But this was a matter of opinion. Those who loved him would become more and more of his fans because of these things. Those who were unhappy with him would still blindly scold him even if he behaved himself with his tail between his legs. The crowd was panting as they moved the 7-meter statue made of an unknown material. When Chen Guang got closer, they just happened to place the statue at the main entrance of the provincial stadium. A person patted the dust off his hands and walked out from the back. As he walked, he said, "Little Tsong, you'll be right to listen to me. Brother Guang will be very happy when he sees this statue. Based on my understanding of him, since he's participating in this competition, he's definitely aiming to become famous. He's just like that. Once he decides to do something, he'll do it to the extreme. But wouldn't it be too high profile?" Little Tsong was a little uneasy. Chen Guang looked at this person and immediately understood. Who was so daring to act first and report later? His relationship with Little Tsong wasn't that close, but if it was Zhong Bai, then it was reasonable. Zhong Bai chuckled. "It's fine. At most, I'll just get beaten up." "Huh? Will I get beaten up?" Little Tsong was panicking. Zhong Bai chuckled. "Anyway, I'll just push the blame to you when the time comes. You're the organizer, and I'm just here to be your bystander." No wonder the temporary competition venue was built so quickly. It turned out that Zhong Bai, the local tyrant, had dragged Little Tsong into this mess. Chen Guang also noticed Wang Qing's figure not far away. The 2 princes of the 5 capital city were personally supervising the construction. With the efficiency of the local construction team, they could build a Roman city in 7 days. Setting up a competition venue was not a problem. Chen Guang was a little touched. True friends were like this. When they knew that you had things to do and needs, and they had the ability to do so, they would jump out to help you without saying a word. They would also not show off in front of you as if they were presenting a treasure. When you find out, you'll be moved. Aside from this overbearing statue being too eye-catching, there's nothing to nitpick about Zhong Bai's character. Chen Guang had to be careful not to kill Zhong Bai and leave him half dead. After that, Chen Guang coughed. Zhong Bai suddenly turned his head. "Brother Guang. What a coincidence." He first looked back at Chen Guang's beautiful hair on the statue, and then at Chen Guang's shiny bald head under the sun. He scratched his head with a face full of regret. "It's not realistic enough. Why did you suddenly become bald?" "Realistic. I want you to be realistic." Chen Guang slapped Zhong Bai's head lightly. Zhong Bai snorted and slipped away. He shouted, "This is all Little Tsong's bad idea. I'm just a bystander who is in charge of moving things." Bystander. I want you to be bystander. After a while, Chen Guang joined in the final construction of the venue. Domestic companies didn't have a lot of experience in organizing large-scale esports competitions. Last year's winter tournament became a laughingstock. Not long ago, the Earthquake Cup in Russia was even created by players. Have you learned how to be perfect? Perfect expressed that he did not want to learn. Because of this, Little Tsong specially found 2 project managers from abroad to control the entire process. He strived to organize the highest level of competition in the shortest time possible. Although Chen Guang's prize money for the competition was not small, the promotional resources that Little Tsong provided, as well as the expenses for organizing the competition, were also in the tens of millions. Venue rental, venue construction, ticketing system, the players' food and accommodation, the appearance fees of the guest performers and warm-up guests, the establishment and maintenance of the competition's official server, the labor costs of volunteers and staff, and so on. All these things piled together cost money like flowing water. But Little Tsong felt that it was worth it. In these few days, he forcefully tied the competition registration account to his Bamboo account, and it brought him millions of real registered users. Other than that, the popularity of Bamboo Live because of this matter made him rich. The daily PV traffic on the website increased by 30%. And this was under the situation where the finals had not yet begun. When the finals of Bamboo's Throne Challenge officially began, and there might be a series of follow-up effects after the competition ended, Little Tsong spent tens of millions of yuan to achieve an effect that he could not achieve normally. Other than that, the ticket income and the licensing fees for the foreign live broadcast rights were also quite a lot. After calculating the various factors, he could barely break even. The free appearance of his 2 left and right hands made Little Tsong even happier. One had to know that these 2 people did not participate in similar commercial activities, and they were completely priceless. But based on their current reputation and status in the industry, it was impossible to talk about it without at least 1 million yuan. But there was something that made Little Tsong's heart ache. He originally planned to set the ticket price at 100 yuan for the 3-day pass. The provincial stadium could accommodate 50,000 people at the same time, so he could earn at least 4 million yuan from the ticket price alone. In the end, Chen Guang cut him into 30 pieces and gave him a bottle of mineral water every day. Fortunately, the mineral water was sponsored by Yibao, or else Little Tsong would have lost a lot of money. Once again, he realized that the real prodigal emperor was not himself, but this big baldy. In the middle, Lu Fei came to say hello once, but immediately left in a hurry. Her family's chemical factory has recently been badly battered by the new environmental protection policy. As the internal successor of Lu's chemical industry, she now holds an important position and can no longer have any leisure time. At 2 p.m., the venue's layout was finally completed, and the opening ceremony's rehearsal was in full swing. His 2 left and right hands entered the venue in advance. Although they were working for free this time, they did not put on airs at all. One had to know that domestic celebrities who had reached the level of the left and right hands who participated in similar commercial activities, not to mention arriving early before the rehearsal, they were already giving enough face by stepping on the tail of the rehearsal to look at the stage a little longer. It was hard to find someone with such a good attitude. But the crowd did not find it strange. Jean Shirue had not had any scandals for so many years, but now she had a boyfriend. Her boyfriend was organizing an event, and as half a wife, she should be there to support him. Seeing the 2 of them, Chen Guang came over with a smile. "You're here so early?" Jiang Yage said, "Isn't that so?" Sister Shirue was afraid that we would mess up her man's event. Jean Shirue pretended to pinch Jiang Yage's waist. "You're so talkative." Then Jean Shirue took a step forward and made a hugging gesture, smiling sweetly. Chen Guang hesitated for less than 2 seconds, squeezed out a happy smile on his face, and hugged Jean Shirue gently. His nose smelled the faint fragrance coming from Jean Shirue's body, and he comforted himself like this. They were acting. Although that was the case, the 2's chests were tightly pressed against each other. There was no taboo at all, and there was no way to avoid it. It was a very standard intimate hug between people in love after a short separation. Jean Shirue's is also quite big, thought Chen Guang. Jiang Yage stood in the middle of the crowd, watching the two of them hugging each other, feeling sour in her heart. Jin Shuiwei gently hugged Chen Guang with a sweet look on her face. It was unknown whether it was her acting or her sincere action, but she looked at Jiang Yage out of the corner of her eyes and sighed silently. Yage, I'm sorry. Chen Guang was also a little embarrassed at this time, but now he was the world's best actor. Of course, no one would find out if he interacted intimately with Jin Shuiwei in public, but it was just a simple hug. Why didn't she let go? Your best friend is looking at me with eyes that want to eat people. Don't make trouble. We'll go back to Yanjing after the opening ceremony tonight. This is our last day of vacation, and we have to work on the new album. Jin Shuiwei got closer and whispered in his ear. Chen Guang was embarrassed, but he didn't show it on his face. Thank you for your hard work today. You have to fly like this during the vacation. Jin Shuiwei smiled sweetly. It's okay. Grandpa asked me to bring you a message. What did he say? Did he think I was too arrogant? Chen Guang began to panic, but he was also a little happy. Old Master Jin, you finally have a problem with me. Don't like me so much. I'm not even close to your granddaughter. Grandpa said that it's them. Everyone is very satisfied with your performance as the director. They feel that you are very good at deceiving everyone. Now, the more active you are as the director, the more people trust you, and the more convenient it is for them to act. They originally wanted you to be more active and become more like a person in the entertainment industry, but you did so well yourself. To this, Chen Guang just wanted to say, I'm going to call the police. One more thing. In a few days, you won't be alone anymore. A group of people will come from Yanjing and set up a cultural company in the name of your identity as an internet celebrity. I won't talk about the details. In fact, this time Solomon and I came here mainly to talk to you face to face, in case the news is leaked. After saying that, Jin Shuiwei kissed Chen Guang's cheek gently, and then went backstage with Jiang Yage and a group of dancers. Chen Guang stood in the wind in confusion. No wonder she kept hugging him. It turned out that there was something serious to talk about. But you should change the time in private. There are so many people watching. Are you a real man? Your Jiang Yage's vinegar jar is about to be overturned, okay? No, Jiang Yage must know about it too. Sigh, poor Jiang Yage, poor Jin Shuiwei, poor me. The whole thing is filled with tragedy. Why did it turn out like this? I didn't want this, okay? He silently clenched his fists and thought to himself. My whole life has been a crooked one. I really didn't think too much about it. I didn't even think about putting on a show in front of the Poison Sect, Dark Sect, and the Special Affairs Bureau. The old man just wanted to compete in a solo competition and get some faith. I really didn't want to cooperate with them. Not only did it not make old Master Jin unhappy, it made him admire me even more. This is all a misunderstanding, okay? Don't think so highly of me. Why do I feel so ket up the more I think about it? He clutched his chest, his heart aching. He felt like his body was being hollowed out. Brother Guang, what's wrong with you? You and Jin Shuiwei can't be real, right? I saw the two of you cuddling just now. It was so sweet. Zhong Bai appeared beside him like a ghost. You look like you're about to faint. No, I have to report this to Sister Lu Fei. Report your face. What do you know? Don't stir up trouble. This matter is too big. Don't get involved. You can leave after the opening ceremony tonight. Zhong Bai didn't really understand. But looking at Chen Guang's serious face, he didn't think he was joking. What's wrong? Is there anything I can help with? Chen Guang shook his head, ready to change the topic. It's nothing. It's almost rehearsal, so don't ask. Sigh, what a pity. If I didn't have to fight a competition and was afraid of tiring my hands, I would have gone up to play the piano and show off my skill of playing 2 sets at once. Brother Guang, is there anything you don't know? I can't fly. Because you're not Superman. Superman can't fly. I know how to sing this song. Zhong Bai was overjoyed. I'm Jay's hardcore fan. He really sang it. Chen Guang was unconvinced. We're no longer friends. How can you sing better than me? Zhong Bai was confused. Isn't that normal? Singing better than you? That's not so. Easy. Get lost. At 7 in the evening, the audience gradually arrived at the venue. At 8, the opening ceremony officially began. In tonight's opening ceremony, Chen Guang would only play against one person. Brother 9 Millennium's Miracle. Other than himself, he was recognized as one of the invincible mid-laners in the world. He was a top player who had fought his way into the top 4 of the International Invitational Tournament. Since it was the opening match, of course, there had to be a highlight. Chapter 597. Bro, did you know? I heard that Lefty and Righty will perform 2 songs at the opening ceremony tonight. A young man in the crowd patted on the shoulder of a young man who was about his age and said excitedly, "Really? That's impossible, right? Although Brother All-Purpose is Jin Shiyue's boyfriend, isn't it said that they are on vacation in Beijing? Yesterday, I saw Jiang Yage's Weibo update with a picture of her playing games at home. She came all the way to Beijing to sing? Besides, this is not the Olympics. It's just an esports competition. Why would a celebrity like Lefty and Righty come? I don't believe it. He can't even afford the appearance fee." You really don't believe it? Look at this. The big red title. It was updated yesterday. Sigh. It's true. I didn't see any mention of this 2 days ago. Why is he here today? The organizers were going to eat **T. With such a big shot guest, any commercial performance would cost a few hundred yuan. Our ticket was only 30 yuan? Won't we have to show our underwear? I heard that the ticket was originally priced at more than 100. Brother All-Purpose asked the organizers to lower the price to 30. Really? Brother All-Purpose is such a good person. +1. After a while, similar conversations were spreading in other places, but the content was slightly different. Did you hear? The ticket was originally priced at more than 300. Brother All-Purpose asked them to lower it to 30. What? So awesome? It's true. After a while, it changed again. Did you hear? The ticket was originally priced at more than 1,000. Brother All-Purpose asked them to lower it to 30. Oh my God. How generous he is. I didn't like him in the past. Looks like I was wrong in the past. Yeah, he's a good person. A great person. The news continued to spread, and the more it spread, the more exaggerated it became. Finally, it stopped at a number of more than 1,000. After all, it was too sci-fi to go any higher. However, there was a group of bald men sitting in the corner. Impossible. Chen Guang, that scumbag, is definitely not that kind. I don't believe it. Just the appearance fee of the 2 left and right hands would be more than 1 million. His ticket price is more than 30 yuan, so he won't be able to earn anything. We can watch the competition for 3 days. The president of the Anti-Light Alliance spoke resolutely with his eye-catching bald head. The person beside him was a little shaken. Chairman, aren't we Brother Almighty's fan club? Why are you scolding me? Bah! We are the Anti-Light Alliance. They were against Chen Guang. Who the hell told you to sneak in without asking around? Get lost. You've been expelled from the Anti-Light Alliance. Well, it wasn't easy for me to make up my mind to shave my head, so how could you kick me just like that? I don't agree. Exactly. None of us will agree. Was it easy to shave one's head? How much courage did it take? Aren't you cheating me? Then what should we do? I told you a long time ago that we're against Chen Guang, but you didn't listen and thought I was joking with you. I'm really getting a headache now. The president was also quite vexed. He roughly estimated that more than half of the 200 bald heads behind him were angry. He started to panic. Although their ideals were different, he really couldn't bear to part with so many of his close friends who were bald together with him. He thought about how everyone had been chatting in the group ever since they got to know each other. He thought about how they would drink together in offline gatherings. The president's eyes became moist. Meeting each other was fate, and shaving their heads together was the great fate of fighting side by side for thousands of years. It was hard to find like-minded friends. His heart was in extreme torment. Could it be that he was really wrong? He was doubting himself. But when he thought about how his beloved Jin Shiyue had not only stuck a flower on a pile of cow dung, but also squeezed out one day of her precious holiday to fly thousands of miles to support that scumbag Chen Guang. His heart was bleeding again. Oh my God. Oh my God. Why do you have to torture me so cruelly? I'm just chasing after a star. I'm just angry that my goddess was taken away. Why do you have to make me face such a cruel decision? Is friendship more important, or is my goddess more precious? I'm only in my 30s and I have to face such a profound life philosophy. I'm in so much pain. Why can't you understand that there's no such thing as a free lunch in this world? Think about it, Chen Guang made such a big move and paid for it himself. He didn't even need to pay for the tickets. Such a huge venue with such a beautiful decoration. Contestants from all over the world had to fly here for 3 consecutive days. How much money did he lose? Do you guys think about it? He must be plotting something. He must be harboring evil intentions. He's just paying a New Year's greeting to the weasels. Why can't you guys understand my painstaking efforts? Why am I so angry? But I really can't bear to leave you guys. The others were also moved by the president's tearful look. Although everyone had different ideals, the bonds of friendship couldn't be faked. President, why don't we just split the alliance into 2? Everyone will still be a family. It's just like living in different rooms. It's the same. One room for those who oppose Chen Guang and the other for those who support Chen Guang. We don't care about Chen Guang. We'll still be friends when we're together. Finally, his most trusted vice president gave a very constructive suggestion. Thus, the most difficult decision in the president's life was easily resolved. But when he saw Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage jumping and singing on the stage with many dancers to boost Chen Guang's popularity, his heart ached even more. Evil landlord Huang Shuren, Chen Guang. My beloved goddess is being used by you like this? Damn it. The opening performance lasted for about 20 to 30 minutes. The left and right hands made the atmosphere extremely hot. Then, at about 8:30 p.m., under the watchful eyes of thousands of people, the first and possibly last global Dota Solo Throne Challenge was about to officially begin. Because of Chen Guang's 30 yuan ticket strategy, the live audience was immediately filled to the brim. A total of 50,000 people were waiting anxiously. There were probably even more people outside who didn't manage to buy tickets. The number of viewers on the Bamboo live streaming platform was as high as 8 million. Although after Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage left the stage, the number of viewers dropped to almost 1 million, it eventually stabilized at about 7 million. This time, Xiao Tsong learned his lesson. He knew that Chen Guang didn't like those fake figures. Thus, he took the initiative to shout and fight against the fake figures on the platform. He shouted, "The industry needs to be regular, the data needs to be transparent. To get rid of zombie viewers, start from Bamboo." Then, the opening text was about the current bad phenomenon of fake figures in the live streaming industry. The impact of such fake figures was far-reaching. It was voluminous enough to write 1,000 words. At the end, he used big red words to guarantee that the almighty Superman, Chen Guang, would have as many viewers as there were people in his live streaming room. When he said millions, he meant millions. Every number represented a living person. There were definitely no zombie fans. The CEOs of the other platforms were seething with anger. Are you trying to rip off everyone's fig leaf? Feng Yu thought. But they couldn't do anything to him. Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage, the 2 top superstars, were on the platform. Moreover, it was the Throne Challenge, such an eye-catching hot competition, and he was even broadcasting the entire process. It was impossible for his popularity not to increase. You Xiaotsong are shameless. You Xiaotsong are despicable and shameless. Why did you take away such a high-quality resource? Needless to say, everyone was filled with anger and helplessness. Looking at the exploding number of viewers in the live streaming room and the crazy GIFs and bullet screens, little Tsong felt very comfortable. The hard work of the past few days was not in vain. Next, it was all up to Brother Guang. Other than that, Dachuan Satellite TV was the first to get the moonlight. They first found Duan Wen, then Zhong Bai, then Little Kong. Finally, Chen Guang nodded his head and successfully obtained the rights to broadcast on satellite TV. accompanied by the beautiful lighting and sound effects that were similar to those of the International Boxing Championship. Chen Guang and his opponent, Brother Miracle, lifted the curtains at the same time from both sides of the big stage. They walked along the purposely built covered bridge towards the dueling platform that had just risen from below the stage. Two top-notch trench machines were placed there back-to-back. Chen Guang's entire body was wrapped in a red cloak. His head could not be seen for the time being, which symbolized the red of China. Brother Miracle, on the other hand, was wrapped in a blue cloak. Sorry, all international players wore blue cloaks. The two's footsteps followed the nervous drumbeat as they moved forward step by step. The dazzling spotlights followed the two from four directions as they moved forward. This was completely different from the appearance of a team competition. This was an effect that could only be achieved by two people in a solo competition. At the same time, the professional competition host shouted passionately on the stage, "Welcome everyone to the final stage of the first Global Throne Challenge." This competition is organized by Bamboo Culture, and the competition prize money is provided by the almighty Superman, who is also the champion of this throne challenge, Chen Guang. The basic prize money is as high as $2 million. The total prize pool is as high as $22 million. The one in the red cloak is our champion, the world's only top player with $10 million in 4 servers, Chen Guang. There is no doubt about his strength. After the host shouted, there was a short pause to give the audience enough time to applaud and cheer. Although many people were quite unhappy with Chen Guang's arrogance, they were thankful that the super low ticket price of $30 had helped him redeem his image. At least the audience was quite cooperative, and applause and cheers followed. The one in the blue battle robe is our first challenger. No, perhaps he should not be regarded as a challenger. He is also a king. He is our Brother Miracle. The world's top professional player, he has already proven his strength in the professional arena. Whether the top passerby is invincible, or the top professional is better, everyone, please wait and see. The home advantage was unreasonable. The clever host did not even give the audience time to cheer for Brother Miracle. At this time, Chen Guang and Brother Miracle had just walked into the ring. The precise timing made the host's small action very hidden, and no one noticed anything. Finally, following the sound of the drums, the lights instantly lit up, and Chen Guang and his opponent Brother Miracle took off their cloaks at the same time. Brother Miracle was wearing his team's uniform, and Chen Guang was wearing a cool jacket that Xiao Tsong had specially designed. Alright, the intended effect was great, but in reality, there was a slight difference. After all, the way they appeared was very similar to the Golden Belt competition, so much so that everyone had the illusion that two boxing champions would jump out of the ring with bare arms. In the end, they were just two esports otakus. Fortunately, Chen Guang's big bald head matched with his well-built body, and he was able to suppress the crowd, giving him a bit of a boxing champion's aura. However, at this time, no one would have thought that the person in the most awkward situation was actually the Anti-Light Alliance's chairman. "You scared me to death, Chairman. You really like to joke around. We are on the same side, right?" As expected of the chairman. Brother All-Rounder shaved his head to match us. We are super hardcore fans. The members of the Anti-Light Alliance were all bald, and now that Chen Guang was also bald, the sense of belonging in everyone's hearts was instantly strengthened. No matter how one looked at it, they were all on the same side. Most of the members were new, so they did not know how this bald head came to be. For a moment, the bald chairman was stared at by many members with affectionate eyes, and his feelings could only be described with one word, F***CK. He silently wiped away his tears and endured the pain. That's right, we are actually hardcore fans of Chen Guang. Really hardcore. When he said this, his heart felt like it was being cut by thousands of knives. He had gone against his beliefs and finally said these words that went against his conscience. "Brothers, do you understand how painful it is for me? For the sake of our friendship, I am no longer who I was in the past." Chen Guang, who was standing in the arena, also noticed this special group of spectators and was overjoyed. "Don't think too much about it, old friend," bald chairman. He was actually waving his hand in this direction, brimming with enthusiasm. The chairman was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Don't King wave at me, I don't want to be on the same side as you. However, this was of no use. The other spectators had already followed Qinguang's gaze and noticed this special group of hardcore fans, and they all applauded them enthusiastically. Good job, brothers. Brothers, are you still accepting new members? Do girls have to shave their heads too? Silently looking at his formation of monks, the chairman could not help but recall the glorious past of having female members, but after 2 overt and covert hints from Qinguang, his anti-light alliance no longer had any female members. We, the anti-light alliance, do not need girls. Thank you everyone for your support. That's right, we are Qinguang's hardcore fans, and we don't need membership fees. There are only 2 criteria for us to join. The chairman cried. This was the greatest pain in the world. On the other side, Qinguang and Brother Miracle had each chosen 5 heroes suitable for mid and solo. The system was nervously choosing randomly. The highly anticipated challenger of the King's competition was about to officially begin. Who was stronger between amateurs and professionals? This was a question that didn't need much discussion in the past, but today, Qinguang was going to give everyone the answer. When the selected heroes stopped on Summoner Carl's portrait, Brother Miracle revealed an incomparably confident smile. Mid and solo Carl against Carl, he was never afraid of anyone. Even in the professional arena, Carl, who was controlled by him, was feared by others. Unless there was a specific lineup, no one would be willing to let him have this fearsome and powerful hero with up to 10 skills. Brother Miracle turned his head slightly and looked at Qinguang, who was sitting not far away from him, and said loudly, "Hey, buddy, I admit that you are strong. Number 1 in the 4 servers? But that's because I'm busy training. Your legend, no, in front of me, you are not a legend." The international players were as confident and arrogant as ever in this regard. Those who could walk their own path in esports had never been humble and cautious. If they wanted to make a name for themselves in the arena, they had to have the arrogance of being the only one in the world. Even if the Heavenly King came, they would not be convinced. Qinguang turned his head from behind the monitor and was laughing in his heart. Little Tsong really understood his intentions. Such an open arena design gave others space to mock him. You can jump as hard as you want. The more you jump, the more faith you will earn when I defeat you. Without comparison, there would be no harm. Of course, he did not intend to admit defeat. He replied in perfect and fluent English, "I heard that you are called Brother Miracle? I'm afraid you will have to change your name after today." "Is that so?" Brother Miracle, who was wearing black-rimmed glasses, squinted his eyes. He was angry. "Arrogant Chinese, you have angered me. My hand is hot, I will defeat you." "Is that so? I will wait." Then the 2 of them bought their outfits and quickly rushed to the minions. An intense battle was about to begin. Unlike the team competition, this was a solo competition with a slightly showy nature. There was no need to keep the content confidential. The conversation between the 2 of them was transmitted through the microphones hanging around their necks. It resounded in the ears of the entire stadium and the audience in front of their televisions. Those that couldn't understand English were sighing at Qinguang's beautiful English, while those that could understand Qinguang's words were instantly energized. The competition has just begun, and the smell of gunpowder is already so thick. Who do you think is better between the 2? Although we should support our countrymen, I always feel that Brother Miracle is better. After all, he is a professional player. His understanding of heroes and micro-operations should be stronger. Almighty Superman is a gaming expert, but the other person is a professional. A young man next to him listened to this person's seemingly reasonable analysis and was unconvinced. "What do you know? I am an old fan of Almighty Brother. I have been his fan since he participated in the racing competition in Xianxia. I have never seen him lose. It is the same this time. Bah! How can there be a person who never loses? You are too blind. Do you understand Tower of Swords?" "I don't understand. I don't understand either. Anyway, Almighty Brother will win. Please go back and play the game. You don't even understand the game. Why are you here?" Do you want to fight? Come on. Who is afraid of who? Can you two settle down and watch the competition? If you want to fight, get out and fight. The audience in the competition arena was already so intense. The bullet screen of the live broadcast platform was even more explosive. In Chen Guang's live broadcast room, the dozen or so super administrators that Xiao Tsong temporarily sent over and nearly 10 administrators appointed by Chen Guang were not enough. Almighty Superman is too shameless. He paid for the competition himself and forced others to challenge him. How can he be so thick-skinned? That's right. But I think he is dead for sure. I am waiting to see him lose 10 times in a row. I want to see how he ends up. I want to see how he pays the $22 million prize. Why is the bullet screen so long? VIP level 30 user privilege doesn't explain. What do you know? I watched the whole process. Almighty Brother is not bragging. He is the strongest in the universe. You call this not bragging? The wind is blowing so hard that I can't breathe. Bullsh *T. Magical girl Luin is #1 in the world. Hit me if you don't like it. Brother Miracle beat Almighty Scum doesn't explain. Sean Dota, Noob Dota. Go and lick your foreign dad. 18 strong men, Wang Lin, handsome brother Jiawei XNXXXXX. I feel sorry for Wang Lin for 30 seconds. I feel sorry for Bao Jilin. My heart aches for Su Xian. Super administrators eat *T. Hurry up and ban this advertising dog. If the pig emperor doesn't appear, who can compete? There is a shady deal in this lousy competition. My brother Dong Yong didn't enter the finals. Shady deal. Bamboo staff were very busy, really very busy. The technical staff were already dead tired, lying in front of the computer with dark eyes. But they didn't dare to sleep. There were as many as 7 million viewers in the live broadcast room. The server was under too much pressure. At this time, under the gaze of more than 20 million viewers, Chen Guang and Brother Miracle finally walked to the minions. It wasn't a one-sided situation. From the beginning, the two were locked in battle. Direct attack, counterattack, pretending to be direct attack to trick the opponent, pretending to counterattack to trick the opponent into shooting ahead of time. The ice, thunder, and fire 3 balls dazzled the eyes. When he wanted to attack, he used fire. When he wanted to recover, he used ice. Less than 30 seconds into the match, Brother Miracle, as a top professional player, put away all his contempt. His back was drenched in cold sweat. Why was this person so strong? But wasn't he an amateur? Chen Guang's fighting spirit was high. It had been too lonely at the top for too long. Finally, an opponent that could make him fight seriously had appeared. He was very excited, as expected of Brother Miracle. Come, let's fight to our heart's content. In addition, it was fortunate that Lioli didn't turn into Jiang Luhua to cause trouble. Chapter 598. The audience couldn't see Brother Miracle's awkwardness from the simple details. Only the people in the middle of it could understand the danger of the two's every step, the interrupting of the normal swings, and the calculation of the health of the minions. The two's calculations were accurate to the single digits and their reaction time was around 0.1 seconds. It was so strong that it made people's hair stand on end. In a solo mid-laner match, even if it was just the difference of a single minion, it could easily snowball and directly affect the outcome of the entire match if the opponent had the advantage of a normal attack. 2 minutes later, many of the pro players who were paying attention to this solo match fell silent. Brother Miracle's experience was behind. Was this a coincidence? Or was it inevitable? Or was it because he underestimated his opponent? Suddenly, in the 3rd minute of the match, Chen Guang relied on the experience advantage of a minion to level up. He suddenly took a step forward and threw a stun skill at Brother Miracle's head, launching a sneak attack. Before he leveled up, he had already closed the distance between the two sides by pretending to focus on the last hit. The pupils of the pro players shrank. This guy, he's so strong. He also knows how to seize opportunities. When he was in the line, he would hide his weapon, but when he really had the slightest advantage, he would be so decisive when he launched an attack, completely exposing his ferocious fangs. This small action was telling everyone that his fighting style was actually very fierce. Seeing Qin Guang's fierce action, the other 19 pro players watching the match in the backstage all tensed up. Most of the audience didn't think that the first to launch a sneak attack would be Qin Guang. After all, Brother Miracle's reputation was very well known. Brother Miracle, who was in the middle of the match, felt more danger than the others, but he didn't panic. He fought and retreated, paying attention to both sides' health and the movement of the minions. His mind spun like lightning as he calculated his chances of winning. Should he fight head-on with his opponent or should he admit defeat? Would he have a chance of winning if he fought head-on? If he admitted defeat, he wouldn't die for sure, but while he was retreating, his opponent's health would definitely not be small. In this solo match, he would be snowballed by his opponent. At this time, a mist appeared on top of Qin Guang's supplicant Carl's head. It turned out that it was because he was fighting from a low slope to a high slope. Under the game's mechanics, there was a certain probability of a miss. Looking at the minions running from the line of minions to their respective heroes, the health of the opposing minions was in a state where they would die with one last hit. Brother Miracle completed an intense calculation in that instant in his mind. I'll attack with a basic attack. If this little soldier dies, I'll level up. Then I tossed heavenly fire at his feet. This was a skill that I had prepared beforehand. Then I switched to haste with the stun effect and used the segmented stun to suppress him within the range of the heavenly fire. As long as I used up all my haste and Skyfire's damage, I would be able to counterattack. If he killed this soldier, then it was okay. He had already lost a basic attack. If he killed this soldier and I didn't get enough experience to level up, then he would waste another basic attack. That way, I would have the health advantage of 2 basic attacks. This way, even if I didn't level up and could only use Heaven Flame, even if I was hit by his Heaven Flame, even if his skill damage was higher, even if he had one more level of Elemental Flame to increase his basic attack damage, it didn't matter. I had the advantage in health. I was definitely going to win. After rehearsing all the possible scenarios, Brother Miracle decided not to retreat. He stood on the high slope and chose to fight Qin Guang head-on. Arrogant kid from China, aren't you going to retreat? Are you an idiot or what? Let me hit you a few more times. Then we will face each other and you can pull out a bottle of potions from the base. Kid, you don't have the right to be arrogant in front of me. But Qin Guang didn't retreat. After the basic attack, he stood on the high slope and continued to attack Brother Miracle. At that moment, the minions pounced beside the two of them and started to attack them. Qin Guang is going to lose. A former pro player, who was sitting in front of his computer and watching the intense fight on the field, suddenly said. His high school classmate sat beside him. Pool, how do you know that Qin Guang will lose? Now that he has the advantage in level, the elemental summon is about to cool down. He can smash Sky Fire. Forcing Brother Miracle to move can also earn a basic attack. He can win. Pool was once the user of the world's peak-level supplicant Carl. He was known as the pianist magical girl Si Shanling. His understanding of this hero could be said to be perfect. At his peak level, there were few opponents. 9,000 years is about to level up. His elemental summon has already cooled down. When he levels up, he will smash Sky Fire and quickly cool down. Qin Guang will definitely lose. Pool said resolutely. Is that so? His high school classmate suddenly realized and was a little sad. As a fan of Almighty Superman on Weibo, he was worried about Qin Guang, but he believed in Pool's judgment. In fact, it was not only Pool who thought so. At this time, other pro players generally thought so. In the high-level solo competition where everyone's hero level was still very low, the impact of the difference in health brought by a basic attack was so far-reaching. The advantageous side took a blood, got experience, and then escaped with dead health. The disadvantageous side lost a blood and was at a disadvantage in terms of experience and money. Unless the opponent made a mistake, it was almost impossible to make a comeback. The two of them attacked each other twice, and their health quickly fell by half. Brother Miracle took a deep breath. It was now. Suddenly, just as he moved the mouse to the low-health soldier, Chen Guang's elemental summon skill was on cooldown. Lava Man. What? Why is it Lava Man? At this time, he should use Sky Fire to burst. Stupid guy, do you think you can beat me with one more Lava Man? I will immediately level up and take you away. Then he moved his mouse, ready to easily finish off this low HP soldier, and then use Heavenly Fire and quick cooldown on his skills. Wait, what did I see? Under the gazes of over 20 million pairs of eyes, Chen Guang, who had just been summoned, actually turned his head towards the dead soldier. He threw the bullet 3 seconds earlier than Miracle Bro and countered the soldier before Miracle Bro's normal attack could reach him. The small soldier fell to the ground silently, but Brother Miracle did not level up. The small soldier was killed, and he lost half of his experience. His experience bar was stuck at a little bit before leveling up, but he just couldn't level up. Brother Miracle's mind was almost blank. He had already written the script in his heart, and he just needed to act and get the first blood. His finger was even on the button to add points to his skills. But it was useless. He didn't level up, and everything that he planned would not happen. He sucked in a cold breath. I've been tricked. This guy noticed my thoughts early on, so he planned to use Lava Man to kill this soldier from the beginning? But why is his operation so fast? How did his brain think of that? After he summoned Lava Man, he was still controlling the hero to move and use normal attacks to attack me, but the moment his Lava Man came out, he aimed the bullet at this low-health soldier. Not only was Brother Miracle stunned, but the audience at the scene was also in an uproar. The Dota players in front of the computer and TV exclaimed. Professional players such as Pool, Brother Burning, Chopped Hand, and Fat Boat flipped over their chairs and stood up. The professional game commentator also screamed. Impossible! This is impossible! The magical girl covered her mouth and murmured. Motherf asterisk cur. He's on steroids. I want to report him. Fat Boat wanted to press Chopped Hand, who was watching the show, into the monitor to vent his overly excited emotions. No one could understand Brother Miracle's despair at this time. He started to retreat, but it was too late. Chen Guang's supplicant and the magma golem were attacking his back, and he couldn't escape this calamity. Everyone thought that this was Chen Guang's extreme operation, but they were wrong. In the next second, something happened again. In a situation where he was only one basic attack away, he actually did an S, and there was a slight lag in the hero's movement. He made a mistake. You can also make a mistake? Ha! Brother Miracle was overjoyed and continued to retreat. He had already entered the protection range of his own defense tower. If Chen Guang dared to follow him, even if he could kill him, he would definitely die. At this moment, Chen Guang and his Lava Man took a step forward at almost the same time. Lava Man entered the attack range of the defense tower, and Chen Guang's cult followed. But the moment the normal attack hit Brother Miracle, his hero actually lit up with a golden light. He had leveled up. It turned out that the two melee soldiers were also brought into the attack range of the defense tower by Brother Miracle. They fell to the defense tower's attack 1 seconds before Chen Guang's bullet hit Brother Miracle. Then, Brother Miracle's screen turned black and white. Then, he watched as Chen Guang used Lava Man to divert the aggro and retreat to a safe position. Then, he quietly attacked again and again. At this moment, all the professional players and even Miracle Bro were silent. Even the professional commentator, Little Car, had his mouth wide open and didn't know what to say. What kind of F***king skill was this? Only then did they realize that Chen Guang had purposely stopped this attack to delay the time of his attack. He was waiting for this soldier to be killed by Brother Miracle's defense tower so that the two of them would be on the same level. Then, when he killed Brother Miracle, he would gain more experience. This bastard! How could he think so much in just a few seconds of fighting? And he did so much? This hero was only a level 4 or 5 solo match. If it was a normal professional match or a ladder match, Carl would be able to unleash all 10 skills in the later stages of the match, including the 8 destruction combo. How terrifying would this guy's performance be? Your hands aren't human, right? Do you have an Intel Core i7 running in your head? Many of the professional players were silent for a long time. They began to recall the video of this guy rushing to 10,000 points. Although they didn't want to admit it, it wasn't a coincidence that he was able to get 10,000 points in a row. It was even more impossible for him to be an actor or a fake army. He really did have the strength to do so. Unrivaled in the world, invincible. On the commentary platform, the commentator, Little Car, was being poked at by his colleagues, hinting for him to quickly explain everything that had happened while Brother Miracle was still resurrecting. Little Car, who had taken on the role of commentator after the retirement of the professional players, took a deep breath and used his unique fast and passionate tone to say loudly, "Let me tell everyone what happened in just a few seconds." First of all, Chen Guang was actually at a disadvantage in terms of health because his basic attack missed. Secondly, he also knew that Brother Miracle would level up after the first soldier died and use a wave of skills to counterattack. But just as Brother Miracle was about to kill the soldier, Chen Guang used the little fireman that he summoned to counterattack the soldier. This blocked Brother Miracle's experience and prevented him from leveling up. In fact, at this time, Brother Miracle was already dead. But later, when Chen Guang made his last attack, look at our slow-motion replay, it was like this. When Chen Guang made his move, there was a brief pause and stiffness. At first, I thought he was petrified. That was a mistake, I pressed the S button by mistake. But in the end, the defense tower was faster than Chen Guang. Chen Guang's killing bullet killed the minions first, allowing Miracle Bro to level up. Chen Guang took the first blood and obtained the experience of killing a hero of the same level. This was more experience than killing a hero of a lower level, further expanding his advantage. In an extremely intense esports competition, to be able to do such perfect details requires amazing hand speed. No, invincible hand speed and even more invincible computing power. I, the former world champion Little Car, am completely convinced. I think he is 10,000 times better than the exaggerated esports Hua Luogang. He is the real Archimedes of esports. Everyone don't scold me. I can't not heal this player, I can't do it. I am convinced. Little Car said so much in one breath. The scene returned to the scene when Chen Guang and Brother Miracle faced off normally. But at this time, Brother Miracle was suppressed in both experience and finances. What was more desperate was that his confidence had been shattered. Chen Guang's first victory was in his hands. After listening to the professional commentator Little Car's explanation, the audience who couldn't understand the game, although they were still a little confused, at least they understood one thing. It seemed that this Jin Shiyue's boyfriend, Chen Guang, was better than a world champion-level professional player? This wasn't a F***king game, it was philosophy. Chapter 599. Miracle Bro, who had lost to HP, couldn't hold on for too long under Chen Guang's seemingly calm but actually dangerous pressure. 1 HP had a huge impact on a solo match. In addition, in a match between experts, it was a battle of fundamentals, details, and operations. If he lost one step, he would lose everything. If he was facing a normal player, Miracle Bro might have been able to use his top-notch techniques to turn the tables if he didn't make a mistake. Unfortunately, he was facing Chen Guang, who had experienced the hellish training of the heavenly Holy Grail. In Chen Guang's dictionary, there was no such thing as a mistake. He could only advance step by step and pursue victory. He never made a mistake. After another 3 minutes, Miracle Bro lost 2 more HP. After the two sides fought for a while, Miracle Bro, who was at a disadvantage, decisively used Thunderball and instantly switched to Ghost Walk to retreat. But after 7 seconds, he actually died to Chen Guang's predictive stream of consciousness. At that moment, flames descended from the sky with a terrifying, powerful, and despair-inducing consciousness like a god looking down on the earth. It burned the heavily injured supplicant Carl to pieces. The noisy stadium fell into a strange silence at that moment. This was another one of the top 10 highlights, and it was the number 1 one. After Chen Guang displayed his flawless and lightning-fast control, he once again brought out his foresight that reigned supreme in the world. Many of the audience were confused. The more they understood the match, the more they felt it was inconceivable. Didn't he not see it after he switched to stealth? How could he hit it with that kind of movement? I don't understand. Don't ask me, I don't understand either. If I understood, the one sitting there would be me. The pro players, on the other hand, weren't as surprised. After all, in their professional careers and in the stairway rankings, it was common for them to make a prediction kill. However, what they cared about the most was the decisiveness and straightforwardness of Qin Guang's skill casting. He did not hesitate at all and instantly moved the mouse to the edge of the grass behind the middle tower. It was as if he had already grasped the speed and trajectory of the invisible Brother Miracle's ghost walk. The most chilling thing was that when the heavenly flame exploded, Brother Miracle was right in the middle of the skill's range. This wasn't a lucky hit, but rather Brother Miracle's death was decided when he switched to his stealth state. When he was killed, Brother Miracle had already been invisible for a full 7 seconds. Everyone had the same thought in their minds. How did he do it? Could it be that the gap between humans and gods was really that big? Many of the pro players pondered for a long time. Despite their arrogance, they had no choice but to admit this cruel reality. If this really wasn't a coincidence, then they wouldn't have been able to make such a confident and accurate prediction. None of the hundreds of thousands or even millions of Dota players around the world could do it. Even the other big esports force that was at loggerheads with Knife Pig, the players who took the time to watch the Dota competition couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. Fortunately, the omnipotent Superman didn't practice League of Legends. They really didn't want to see their idol being crushed on the ground like Brother Miracle, who was now known as the #1 mid laner in the Dota profession. In a normal solo match, the winner would be determined by 3 kills or pushing down 2 towers. Now, although Brother Miracle had only died twice, everyone knew that the winner of this match had been determined. Chen Guang's seemingly casual throw destroyed all of Brother Miracle's confidence and completely left the 2 players behind in terms of equipment and level. After reviving in the spring for the second time, Brother Miracle's Carl didn't move. The camera switched to his face, and everyone realized that his eyes were a little dull, as if he was still immersed in the memory of the moment when he was killed. He had been beaten senseless. Brother Miracle had been beaten senseless. Unlike the last time when Brother Miracle was defeated, everyone was surprised. The world's #1 mid laner in many people's eyes was actually defeated just like that. This should have been a big deal and an incredible thing, but when they thought of Qin Guang's exquisite kill, it didn't seem to be surprising at all. If he could kill once, of course he could kill a second time. Others were playing a game, but he was ruling a game. Finally, after being stunned for about 10 seconds, Brother Miracle suddenly came back to his senses. He mechanically and numbly bought a teleportation scroll, and before landing he habitually clicked on Qin Guang's inventory. When he saw the purple grudge on Qin Guang, he quickly typed GG as soon as he landed. There was no way they could continue this match. Seeing the 2 letters GG appear on the big screen, after a short silence, the 50,000 people in the provincial stadium burst into thunderous applause. Chen Guang used an indisputable performance to open the curtain of his complete conquest of the world stage in the field of Dota. No one dared to question the strength of his so-called amateur player. Some people even thought that he didn't participate in professional competitions because he didn't want to lose suspense in Dota, which was famous for its competitive nature. After all, once there was a team with 2 strong dominants, it would only bring about a victory without suspense, which could be called a devastating blow to any competitive event. Football and basketball, these 2 major sports, had been popular all over the world for many years. In addition to the exciting confrontations, the most attractive thing was that until the last moment, no one dared to say that they were invincible until the real champion picked up the trophy. The suspense made the game seem more exciting, and it could also make the audience fully immersed. However, this problem didn't exist for Qin Guang at this time. He only needed to continue to crush all the opponents in front of him. Even the audience who didn't understand the game and just wanted to join in the fun were watching with relish. Anyway, watching the Chinese beat the fair-skinned, golden-haired foreigners in the game made them happy. No matter what the game was, they were happy when they won. Xiao Long, tell Grandma how this Qin Guang won just now. Grandma, don't ask, you won't understand even if I tell you. You little brat, are you looking down on your grandma? Grandma was also very fashionable when she was young, okay? Who doesn't know that I, Hu Chunhu, am a good dancer? When I was a factory director when I was young, I was also very smart and managed the rice bowls of hundreds of people. Tell me. Poor Xiaolong was beaten up by his grandma. Then, he cried and added a lot of personal information into the parts that were simplified during the analysis of the small car. The old grandma really didn't understand, but she nodded again and again. She looked like she suddenly understood. Anyway, this Chen Guang is very good. I said that he will definitely win. He is good at everything. Last time I saw the sports channel, he also beat the foreigners with darts until they cried and asked for scolding. You were still fighting with me just now. See, the older the ginger, the spicier. In the future, listen to Grandma more. Don't always worship foreign things and support your own people. You said that the name of this foreign player was not good, but he actually called himself Juqiansui. Isn't he asking for a beating? Look at you, you still play games all day. You can't even guess who will win or lose as well as me. There is a philosophy of life in this. Xiaolong was about to cry. Watching a Dota competition made Grandma see the philosophy of life again. But don't look at his depressed appearance. In fact, he was really convinced in his heart. He also felt that it was like a dream. Brother Juqiansui Miracle was actually beaten. Was this a coincidence? No, it didn't look like a coincidence at all. The domestic Dota enthusiasts were completely restless, and there was a lot of discussion. Some people said that Brother Miracle had just returned from abroad, and he was not used to the environment. His biological clock was not adjusted well, and his condition was not good. Some people also said that Chen Guang was too lucky. The analysis of the small car commentator made Chen Guang too much of a myth. There were also people who said that Brother Juqiansui Miracle had received money. The purpose of Chen Guang's competition was to promote himself. In fact, they were all acting according to the script. They first let Chen Guang win a game to be happy. Otherwise, why would he sponsor? Millions of dollars were thrown out, and such a large-scale world-class competition was organized in a few days. How much money was that? What did he not want? Whether you believe it or not, I don't believe it. There was something fishy about this competition. Once this opinion was born, it gradually spread in the stadium. Many people in the bullet screen and in front of the TV also thought so. After all, this King's Throne challenge had the intention of burning money from the beginning to the end. In order to earn hundreds of thousands of dollars, it was not impossible for Brother Miracle to become an actor. The more everyone thought about it, the more likely it was. Those who knew a little about the game, but not a lot about it, easily agreed with this idea. Those who didn't understand the game at all and weren't fans of Chen Guang had even more of an insight into the affairs of the world. Only those who truly understood the game understood that Chen Guang wasn't an ordinary player, but a scourge that descended from the sky. Otherwise, it would be the brainless fans of Chen Guang. I don't care what game you play. Brother All-Rounder is invincible in everything he does. I'm not going to reason with you. I'm his fan. If you don't like it, then hit me. Then, the skeptics and the supporters almost got into a fight. Fortunately, the neutral party stood up to smooth things over. You guys should stop talking. The competition has just begun. Won't we know if we continue? Moreover, even if Brother Miracle is acting, he can't lose 10 games in a row, right? Let's not talk about money. As a professional player, losing 10 games in a row, does he still want his face? Also, you guys think that Brother Miracle is acting. Aren't there still 19 players? There are still 3 days. Why are you guys in such a hurry? The two sides who were about to fight suddenly understood. This brother's words were reasonable and convincing. Moreover, there was a replay of the competition. Dota's competition videos were always open to the public. Naturally, there would be experts reviewing and analyzing it. If there really were signs of acting, they would be able to see it. The domestic audience was already like this. The foreign audience was even more out of control. But currently, most of them were leaning towards Brother Miracle's poor condition. He was tricked by the Chinese and didn't even get over the time difference. He flew thousands of miles to participate in the competition on the first day and was plotted against. Only Brother Miracle himself knew that he wasn't acting and wasn't plotted against. His biological clock wasn't a problem. As a professional esports player, The Chinese players lived in America and the American players lived in China. At this time, he was in high spirits. Taking advantage of the short game, he turned his head to look at Chen Guang, who was resting with his eyes closed. His mind recalled the scene when he was killed twice in the previous game. An emotion called unwillingness gradually welled up from the bottom of his heart. In all these years in the field of esports or Dota, he had never sincerely admired anyone. Now, he didn't want to admit defeat. Other than hard work and talent, what pushed him to constantly become stronger and reach the peak level of a professional player was his pride that would never be beaten into submission. Chinese. I admit that you are very strong, but if you can do it, I can do it too. I am a professional player. I must defend the honor of a professional player. This is my dream, my life. I train hard for more than 12 hours every day. In order to get more points, I don't sleep or rest. We are fighting on the road to the champion's shield. I absolutely can't be defeated by an amateur player. Brother Miracle thought in his heart. His fists clenched tighter and tighter. He also felt that the burden on his body was gradually becoming heavier. Once again, the two of them selected 5 heroes each. The selected roulette once again jumped between 10 heroes. The big screen accurately captured the expressions of Chen Guang and Brother Miracle at this time. Chen Guang looked very calm. He even yawned. Brother Miracle was a little serious. As the saying goes, the fox mourns the death of the rabbit. The other contestants and the audience, who were also professional players, also felt the pressure on Brother Miracle at this time. No one would have thought that what was originally just a trip for a local tycoon to earn money would actually become a declaration of war on the world of Dota. What was even more cruel was that this was an esports world where the winner was king. It didn't matter whether one was convinced or not. The outcome of the competition was an ironclad fact. No one could deny it. In the second round, they randomly selected Shadow Demon, also known as Sofa, which could also be called SF. This was the most popular hero in the solo mid-laner competition. Good trajectory and a skillful Shadow Raise skill allowed Shadow Demon to display a player's basic skills to the fullest in a mid-ranged unit. The usual mid-laner father-son matchup was also born from Shadow Demon. This god-tier hero was extremely popular and very suitable for new players to experience the game. They could taste all the hero skills in the entire Dota in the shortest time. Along with the Dota, they witnessed the birth of countless long-lost fathers and sons. Brother Miracle took a deep breath. It was time to show his strength. Although it was getting harder and harder for Shadow Demon to appear in the offline competition, that was only because this hero had poor escape abilities. Brother Miracle liked this hero very much when he was practicing his basic skills in the random matchup. He had absolute confidence in his hero's operation level, and then he was defeated. 13 minutes later, he threw the mouse away and leaned back on the esports chair. He felt like his body was hollowed out and he couldn't even speak. He had clearly played to the extreme, he had clearly worked hard enough, but why did he always inexplicably fall into a disadvantage bit by bit? He had calculated his HP accurately to the single digits every single time, and he had also grasped the cooldowns of both side skills. Yet he was always a step behind when they clashed. 3 deaths, 0 kills and 0 kills. Another 0 kills. He was very confused and had no idea why. If he knew that Chen Guang calculated far more than just HP and skills, and even included the flying speed of the trajectory, the hero's own turning speed, the movement of the minions, and the lifting of the general attack, and even the HP that would automatically recover as time passed when the two of them exchanged HP, he would collapse. Other professional players calculated their HP in single digits, but Chen Guang calculated it accurately to 0. The difference of a single line was like the difference between heaven and earth. If losing the first round was a fluke, then what about losing the second round? Everyone could see that Brother Miracle had tried his best and his condition was impeccable, but he was still defeated. In the third match, Chen Guang won the Windwalker match once more. In the fourth round, Chen Guang obtained another victory against the Templar assassin. 5th round, 6th round, 7th round, no one knew what was going on today. From the start, no one thought that Brother Miracle would lose so badly. Even Grandma Long, who was sitting in front of the TV, said, "This foreign kid, sigh, it really hurts. He's about to cry. Chen Guang is really too much. He doesn't even know that he deliberately let him win. We have to have the demeanor of a big country." Gaming enthusiasts were amazed at Chen Guang's strength. Brother Miracle's die-hard fans were celebrating Brother Miracle's strength. Brother Miracle's fans had ashen faces as they trembled. There was something going on at home. The professional players, on the other hand, were sweating profusely as they looked at Brother Miracle, who was controlling his musketeer to deal the last hit. They could smell a tragic aura. No one wanted to lose. Losing once or twice was forgivable, losing 3 or 4 times was understandable, but losing 5 or 6 times was a disaster, and it was a different hero every time. This was unbelievable for a professional player. 7 or 8 times was enough to make one doubt their life. There wasn't even a need for Chen Guang to say anything. The acting theory was already broken. No top professional player would be willing to risk losing their reputation and act out a tragedy of losing 10 times in a row in front of 20 million eyes. Although 100,000 USD wasn't a small amount, for these top players, it was far less than a large contract for a live broadcast. Even if it was for his dignity, he wouldn't act like this. For him to lose so badly, it could only be because his strength was completely crushed. Peak professional players like Brother Miracle might be standing at the top of human esports, but they were facing Chen Guang, who could already be called a god in the field of Dota. The only one who could defeat a god was the other true god, Jiang Luyao, who had transformed into a human, and he had relied on cheating methods. In the 9th game, Chen Guang still won. Finally, in the 10th game, Brother Miracle rubbed his fingers over his beloved mouse. To everyone's surprise, he was completely calm. There was no panic on his face, nor was there any hesitation. He looked at his mouse and keyboard with deep affection in his eyes. He took a deep breath, tilted his head again, and looked straight at Chen Guang. "Hey, brother." Chen Guang also tilted his head. "Hey, brother. You're really strong," he said. "Thank you." With a smile, Chen Guang nodded his head. "I used to think I was invincible at a certain time. Thank you for making me re-examine this game." He was very sincere. Feeling the fighting spirit gradually reigniting on his opponent's face, Chen Guang smiled. After losing 9 games in a row, not only had he not collapsed, but he had instead become enlightened. Of course, he didn't like opponents who collapsed after a single hit. Being able to experience the world's experts one after another while being lonely at the top was what he was really willing to enjoy when he stood at the peak. It was just like the feeling of his heart beating faster and his blood vessels expanding when he defeated all the car kings in Xianxia. "I'm very happy that you think this way. Actually, I used to be your fan, and I really like watching your team's matches." Since he gave him face, Chen Guang returned the favor. "Will you play professionally?" "I don't think it's possible. After this solo match, I might not play this game anymore. So I want to defeat you once. This is my last chance?" The light in Brother Miracle's eyes grew brighter. "I almost wanted to give up this game today, but I thought a lot. Maybe it's just a game to you, but it's my love, my life, my dream. What? So thank you for letting me see such a strong state, but I will never give up. I'm very happy that you think this way. Then, let me challenge your throne for the last time." The content of their conversation was transmitted to the ears of every audience through the microphone. It was a little tragic, a little stubborn, but more than that, it was the persistence and unwillingness of an esports genius towards his dream. Even though he knew that he was facing a god, he refused to compromise. Not only in terms of actions, but also in terms of mentality. As long as the tower did not fall, he would not retreat. Until the very last moment, he would never admit defeat. Even though he knew that it was a hopeless struggle, he still waved his giant axe and rushed out of the fountain, just to stand in front of his world tree and struggle for the last ray of hope. This was esports, this was the Dota Tower. Of course, what people felt the most was the true meaning behind the name of the throne challenge by Chen Guang. He was not bragging. He was indeed standing at the top of the world, sitting on the throne, looking down on all living things, giving everyone a chance to prove themselves in front of him and the world. In this field, he was indeed the fully deserving king. Everyone else could only be challengers. Brother Miracle's last match was slowly sounded in the war horn. He and his Maipo diviner waved the shovel in their hands and walked out. Chapter 600. In this world, no matter what skill it was, people who had reached the peak or were close to the peak would have a sense of loneliness. They would fall into the emptiness of drawing their swords and looking around blankly. They would be filled with fighting spirit but have nowhere to go. Just like how the best swordsmen were often lonely, they would especially cherish those who were similar to them, because they were deeply in love with them. They deeply loved the skills that they had painstakingly trained in, and they appreciated the opponents that could bring them the pinnacle of the battle. Just like how Shimenchueshue was to Yi Guqing, and Dongfang Bubi was to Ling Huchong, Brother Miracle at this time almost gave Chen Guang this feeling. Earth Oracle Mi Bo was a very special hero. This was the only hero in the entire Dota that would constantly produce doppelgangers as his level increased. His doppelgangers were not ordinary phantoms. They were really divided into two into three, and after coming out of the Ahalim staff, he could have a total of 4 doppelgangers. With the death of each doppelganger, the hero would also die. Each doppelganger inherited all the skills and equipment of the real body. In a sense, this was a tribute of MOBA games to their predecessor RTS games. On this hero, they maintained the characteristics of traditional real-time strategy games with group control and individual micro-control. It was rare to see this hero appear in a solo match because it would turn the solo match into a real-time strategy game. According to the understanding of the average person, using this hero to play a solo match would be nothing more than rushing up and randomly attacking. Otherwise, at most, including jumping sheep and 5 dogs flying at the same time would be the limit. But today, Chen Guang and Brother Miracle were different. The two of them reinterpreted this hero and this game in the fierce battle. The two of them were at each other's throats from the beginning. Every step they took, every time they used minions to divert aggro, every time they blocked, and every time they feinted to trick the other party to attack, it was full of deception. Brother Miracle, who had adjusted his state of mind, might have really had an epiphany. It was different from the previous 9 matches where he would gradually fall into a disadvantage. The two of them had a dangerous confrontation that lasted until they both took out their staffs at the same time and created the 4th clone, but they were still evenly matched. It was supposed to be a simple solo mid-laner match, but the two of them were able to fight it out like a game of StarCraft. This was especially true as their levels increased, their skills became richer, and their number of clones increased as well. Their online battles were even more bloody and bloody. Cross-encirclement, deceiving escape, deceiving edge, seamless interconnected web. The intense confrontation between the two never stopped, causing the audience to be so nervous that they could not breathe. The image on the big screen switched to their respective keyboards and mice from time to time, and the audience was even more dazzled by the dazzling keyboard and mouse controls of the two players. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that MOBA games could have such a high level of control. It was even more difficult than StarCraft RTS games. After all, real-time strategy games were played on a large map, and the main focus was on strategizing. The range of close combat was often very large, and a single move wouldn't immediately affect the outcome of the battle. But Chen Guang and Brother Miracle were different. The two of them were in close combat all the time. The confrontation was extremely intense from the beginning, and it didn't seem like it would stop. This state continued until the two of them reached the maximum level of level 25. Chen Guang finally used an exquisite calculation to catch Brother Miracle's mistake and killed him for the first time. Humans were humans after all. Chen Guang could use these two hands to play the world's 10 most difficult songs without taking a break, but Brother Miracle couldn't do it. His blood was still boiling in his heart, but his hands had already become stiff from the long period of intense operation. Chen Guang didn't fiercely attack the tower after killing Brother Miracle. With his current high level of level 25 and a total of 5 clones with mid to late game equipment, He could take the opportunity to quickly advance and at least take down one of Brother Miracle's towers before he revived. But he didn't do this. Instead, he methodically counterattacked and controlled his troops to the middle of the river. What does Brother All-Rounder mean? He doesn't want to win? The audience scratched their heads and asked their companions. No, he's giving Brother Miracle a chance to challenge him again. He doesn't want to win this game by pushing the tower. Now that everyone's level is the same, Brother All-Rounder doesn't have any more equipment. When Brother Miracle revives, the two of them will still be on the same starting line. Isn't this showing off? That's not wrong, but let's put it in another way. It sounds more handsome. Chivalry? That's right. At this time, on the commentary platform, Little Car was still explaining Qin Guang's thoughts and actions. But after a long explanation, the poor Little Car fiercely slammed the table. In short, it's very awesome. He felt wronged. I'm a professional commentator, but I can't commentate anymore. This guy had too many details in that instant. I couldn't understand it at all, so I couldn't make it up anymore. Not to mention this retired professional player, even the current players weren't any better. They just felt like they were playing a different game. Hey, that's not right. It seems like we are all professional players, and he is the amateur? Forget it, that's not important. Brother Miracle was defeated anyway. If it was anyone else, it wouldn't be any better. Other people didn't play professionally because they weren't interested. It wasn't because he couldn't bear it. At the same time, Qin Guang's fans all applauded for his chivalry. However, that wasn't the main reason. Qin Guang's actions had garnered him quite a bit of fans on foreign streaming platforms. Although I don't really like this Chinese guy, I think he's too arrogant, but now I think he's not bad. I think so too. No matter what, to be able to watch such a match, I'm very glad that I'm a Dota player. In fact, these people didn't guess Qin Guang's thoughts. The reason why he didn't push the tower was because he didn't want the match to end so quickly. He wanted to freeload more gifts from the live streaming platform and also to waste more time on Dachuan satellite TV. Anyway, the result would be the same even if he did it again. He wouldn't lose. His maneuvers were as precise as a German-made machine. The confrontation just now seemed dangerous, but in fact, everything was under his control. A minute later, he once again completed the kill. 5 minutes later, Brother Miracle was completely defeated on the way to challenge the throne. When he used his tired hands to type GG, the audience burst into thunderous applause. He didn't know if the audience was giving it to him or to Qin Guang. Qin Guang smiled and stood up. He gave this brother a simple hug, patted his back, and personally put a $100,000 check in his hand. Brother Miracle, although he lost, it was still honorable. He only lost to Qin Guang, but he was already one of the 16 top players who stood out from the cruel and intense qualifiers. Unexpectedly, but within reason, Qin Guang won his opening match. Choosing to defeat the world's widely recognized top player, Qin Guang used the posture of a king to announce to the world that he came prepared and that he didn't come with good intentions. But he wasn't in a hurry to arrogantly declare his sovereignty. He only gave a simple greeting to the audience and the people in front of their televisions and computers before silently sitting on the throne that little Tsong had specially prepared for him. As the platform slowly descended into the ground, it announced the perfect end of today's opening match. During the entire process, his expression was cold, his expression was silent, and his gaze was solemn. He was filled with the aura of an overbearing Zhou, and he was unbelievably cold. In the afternoon, when they were discussing how to step down from the stage, little Tsong said to Qin Guang, "Brother Guang, you must remember this. I know you're usually very easygoing, but you really have to listen to me this time. If you lose the first match, just treat everything I said as fart. You can step down from the stage however you want. But if you win, nonsense. You must win. If you lose, I'll give you a fried egg." Fine. You're talking like that again. I've told you many times to watch your posture. Posture. This is a throne challenge. You're sitting on the Iron Throne. That's right. Just treat yourself as the king of the northern region in a game of power. You're a king, so you must have the dominance of a king and the demeanor of a king. You can do whatever you want in private, but on stage, you must put away your cheeky face. Especially after you win, you must be cool when you step down from the stage. Show off. Be cold. Be cool. Be handsome enough to make my face bleed. You're a star. No, you're a superstar. A superstar has to have the demeanor of a superstar. Little Tsong said as he tapped the paper tube in his hand, looking like a fresh and hot director. Chen Guang felt that what Su Tao said made sense. He was aiming for the faith points this time, and the faith points that a joker could obtain would naturally be inferior to a rich and handsome guy. So you mean you must be cool when you step down from the stage? That's right. Look at your clothes. I got an Armani designer to tailor it for you. Look at the 2 swallowtails on your back. When you stand there, coupled with your somewhat passable facial features, I don't need to explain myself. I'm the Billy King of esports. F*CKU. I'm much more handsome than you. I'm obviously the esports Gwida Statham. I'm Billy in your face. After catching little Tsong and giving him a good beating, Chen Guang raised his eyebrows and said, "Then I'll try to act cool for you to see? Help me see if I look good." I heard about what happened on the set of Tears for Rivers and Mountains. Brother Guang, work hard. If you really can't do it, practice more, little Tsong said worriedly. Zhong Bai also came over. Special alert. Alert. Brother Guang is going to act cool. High energy ahead. Non-combatants evacuate immediately. Both of them were having fun, but in less than 5 seconds, both of them were dumbfounded. Damn, it's so glaring. My eyes. It hurts. I can't go blind anymore. Zhong Bai covered his eyes and retreated. Little Tsong was also stunned. Why was this good brother's acting different from the rumors? 5 seconds to get into character and act cool. Brother, you are clearly a best actor. Chen Guang retracted his supernatural power. How is it? Is it cool enough? Of course it's cool enough. Little Tsong and Zhong Bai were convinced. Chen Guang nodded in satisfaction. How could it not be cool enough? Just now, the old man had substituted himself in "This assassin is not too cold." He had completely transformed into the super cold assassin Leon played by Renault. Therefore, at this moment after he got off the stage, many of the old men in the audience were still staring at the empty stage and the big screen. Their minds were blank. He had clearly gone off the stage, but there was a loud bang in the sky. All they could see was a huge, handsome word. It was so glaring. Chen Guang took out his phone and silently posted on Weibo. Old man doesn't usually act cool. Is everyone satisfied with today's performance? A bunch of replies immediately followed. I kneel to Brother All-Rounder. The king of acting cool, Brother All-Rounder. I'm your diehard fan. Brother All-Rounder is so strong. I'm a freshman at Wujing University. I love you so much, I love you. I want to be your lover. I don't want status or money. I don't want you to teach me how to play games. I just want you to fill me up. Chen Guang silently looked at this guy's Weibo account information. There was a blue circle with a small arrow. You're AF * king guy. Get lost. Of course, not everyone on Weibo was joking. For example, he had hidden a lot of useful information in his private mailbox. He could slowly enjoy it when he got back at night. Now, he switched his live broadcast room to outdoor and greeted the old men in the audience. As for how the audience in the stadium, as well as the other contestants and professional players, Chen Guang really didn't care at all. Anyway, as long as he kept winning for 3 days in a row, all the doubts in this world would turn into worship and eventually condense into faith points that would roll in. In a sense, the bald president of the Anti-Light Alliance was the man closest to the truth. Chen Guang was indeed plotting something on them, but they didn't know it and couldn't detect it. Looking at the endless list of gifts in the live broadcast room, Chen Guang's heart was as sweet as honey. Although it wasn't a lot of money, the gifts that kept popping up in the bullet screen gave him the thrill of leveling up in an online game and dropping treasures. The thrill wasn't in the money, but in the satisfaction of being recognized and appreciated by others. There was no need to tell others about this. Ladies and gentlemen, good day to you all. When I got off the stage just now, the director asked me to act cool. Not bad, huh? Chen Guang chuckled as he raised his brows and rubbed his shiny bald head. Damn, it's no wonder why Linny and Lioli like to touch my bald head. My bald head is poisonous, and it feels so good that I can't stop myself. Alright, Chen Guang's interaction skills with the bullet screen were a little low, but there was nothing he could do about it. This was his nature. He had to put on a stern face to scare people. Although he could scare people, he was also very tired and annoyed. He didn't want to live such a tiring life. Needless to say, the viewers in the live broadcast room liked his down-to-earth style, and the gifs in the bullet screen became even more intense. Today, his number of Weibo fans had soared by another million or so, reaching more than 12 million. It might not seem to be comparable to the tens of millions of other people, but those who were knowledgeable would know that his fans were not fake. They were the real deal. One of them was equivalent to 3 of his fans. His number of fans in the live broadcast room also soared by hundreds of thousands, reaching more than 3 million. Although he hadn't broadcasted for a long time, every time he did, it would cause a big commotion. He easily proved his worth as a top-tier online anchor in the country. As for the gifts he received from the bullet screen, according to the strategy of splitting it with him and Xiaozong, he had earned 400,000 to 500,000 yuan tonight. The actual number of viewers of 7 to 8 million, with an average spending of 6 cents, didn't seem like much, but added together, it was a daily income of hundreds of thousands. Once again, the top 3 fans of this week were set to be moderators. Chen Guang said goodbye to everyone and turned off the live broadcast. When he walked backstage, he saw Xiaozong and many of the organizers celebrating. Maybe it should be called great joy. Brother Guang, listen to me. We succeeded in this competition. We really succeeded. Do you know how many viewers we have worldwide? How many? 25 million at the peak. The average for the entire competition is 23 million. Chen Guang pinched his fingers and calculated. About half of them were Dota players. Based on the average, each player provided about 0.5 units of faith, or forget about it. Anyway, it would be full after the competition. Thinking about it carefully, it was really sad to see the upper limit of Ling Tian Cup's bad luck. It was only slightly more than 40,000. It wasn't easy to reach the limit. If there's nothing else, I'll go back first. Chen Guang casually said goodbye and left. This was the advantage of having someone to help with small matters. It was comfortable to be a hands-off boss. Alright, Brother Guang, it's been hard on you. Brother Guang, take care. At this moment, the people who were watching this competition no longer had any doubts about Chen Guang's strength. There was only one question left. This so-called tag team battle was probably because he knew he was too strong, so he left a chance for others. There were still 19 top players left who had the chance to challenge him. In the next 2 to 3 days, would these people be able to snatch even one victory from him through the tag team battle? The next day, at 9 a.m., the King's challenge continued on time. Sitting in front of Chen Guang was a genius youth from the Chinese server. He was only 16 years old and had displayed amazing mathematical talent on the television show, The Most Powerful Brain. His mental arithmetic ability and reaction time were top-notch. His understanding of the game was also far beyond that of an ordinary person. An hour and a half later, the genius youth knelt down without any hesitation. Without stopping, Chen Guang raised the beacon again and faced the second top professional player from the American server. An hour and 46 minutes later, this player was also defeated. Since then, in this year's King's Challenge, he had won 30 matches in a row. He hadn't been defeated once, and the heroes he controlled also had 0 deaths. The 50,000 spectators in the huge venue were silent. They even felt that this matter was very strange and scary. When would he lose the first match? Could it be that he had only planned to fork out $2 million as prize money from the start? Did he really not plan to lose a single match? This was 200 rounds of attrition battles. The number of spectators today was not as much as yesterday. After all, it was office hours. At the same time, there were no superstars like Jin Shirue and Jiang Yage to warm up the audience. Chen Guang's opponent was also not as famous as Brother Miracle. But as the match continued, at about 2 p.m., The number of spectators had once again risen to more than 20 million. The exclusive platform of Bamboo Live broke through 10 million viewers without hesitation. The reason was very simple. As a satellite television station, Dachuan Satellite TV could not spend the whole day on Qinguang's esports competition due to certain regulations of another TV station. In the afternoon, they had to broadcast some main theme and positive energy programs to save their reputation. Many people were temporarily rushed from Dachuan Satellite TV to the computer. In addition, some office workers, after browsing the forums and Tieba during their lunch break, were also tempted by Qinguang's 30 consecutive victories. They forcefully turned on the live broadcast in the company and muted it despite the risk of being hacked to death by their boss. Boss, why are you here? Good, Big Beard Zhang. You're actually watching live broadcast during office hours? Cut it back. I want to see what you're watching. If I find out that you're watching the game, you're dead. Boss, I'm not a fan. I'm a Dota fan. But didn't you say last time that you're a fan of Kaka? I'm talking about the Brazilian team's Kaka, not the Kaka who plays League of Legends. Believe me. Yo, Qinguang's match? Boss, you know him too? I'm a fan of his cars. You know that I like to play with modified cars. I never miss his program. I'm a super fan of his, okay? I see. Big Beard Zhang patted his chest. He was scared to death. He escaped a disaster. Okay, come to my office. Let's turn on the big projection and watch together. Big Beard Zhang was ecstatic. He followed the boss and stood up. By the way, your full attendance for this month is still gone. I've already deducted my own. Big Beard Zhang cried tears of joy. Chapter 601. In the afternoon, Chen Guang once again fought against 3 people in a row, a professional player from Southeast Asia, a young genius from the US server, and a top professional mid from China. He once again won 30 consecutive victories. Unlike others who sometimes played steadily and sometimes flashed brilliantly, for Chen Guang, if the opponent played steadily, then he would steadily press them to the ground step by step. If the opponent's maneuvers were elegant and focused on showing off, then he would steadily show off the opponent to the ground, rubbing against each other like the devil's footsteps. Anyway, no matter how you move, I will not move, I will just press you to the ground and beat you. When it was 6:00 in the evening, Chen Guang successfully won 60 consecutive victories. The huge stadium was no longer as silent as it was in the morning. People seemed to have gradually become accustomed to Chen Guang's invincibility. They were just surprised that even such a high-intensity round of battles did not make him feel any fatigue. Ordinary players would often show signs of exhaustion by the 6th or 7th round of 10 consecutive battles, let alone 30 consecutive battles. Their brains would become stiff, and their fingers would not be able to keep up. However, the number 1 invincible god of Sword Tower, Chen Guang, did not have this problem at all. Not only was he not tired, but the more he fought, the fiercer he became. Everyone thought that the round of battles was to test his stamina, but in fact they were all wrong. Not only was Chen Guang not tired, but the more he fought, the fiercer he became. The people sitting opposite him thought that he was tired, but they were even more distressed that they could not take advantage of such a tired player, and they created even more mental pressure on themselves. They, who were at ease waiting for him to be exhausted, were completely no match for Chen Guang, who had been fighting continuously. How hopeless! So far, he has won 60 consecutive rounds. I really can't see his limit. As a fellow professional player, I really don't understand how he can maintain such a high level of competitive state in such a high-intensity confrontation. Isn't his brain tired? Aren't his hands stiff? A professional mid who had just arrived this morning murmured as he looked at the shining Chen Guang on the stage with eager eyes. His eyes were filled with admiration, envy, and all sorts of complicated emotions. He really envied Chen Guang's talent. They were all earthlings, loved this game, and worked hard. However, some people were born to stand at the top of the world, while the rest of them struggled to become normal professional players. In the previous online qualifiers, this player had also fought his way into the top 8. Unfortunately, he had fallen outside the threshold of the top 8. Previously, he was still a little unconvinced. What kind of lousy thing was this? Wasn't he just relying on his wealth to attract people over to flatter him? I don't want to earn your money. But after 60 matches, from watching the live stream the night before to witnessing Qin Guang stand on the throne in the arena today, he gradually ascended to the altar by winning every match. His mood gradually changed. At this moment, this genius mid who had fallen in the top 8 was filled with regret. He had not been able to personally step onto the stage and be a witness to this person's ascension to the throne. This would probably become the biggest regret of his life. Even if he had lost 10 times in a row, it was not shameful. Didn't you see that none of those who had been knocked off the stage by him were indignant? Instead, they looked satisfied. If he had to blame someone for not being able to enter the finals, he could only blame himself for not being strong enough. Perhaps he had also underestimated his opponent at that time, losing to that non-professional genius. But now that things had come to this, there was no use regretting it. He clenched his fists, feeling extremely unwilling. Coach, my family is fine. I will definitely not give up. Beside him was his teammate, who was currently recognized as the strongest third player in the country. He was also a player with a tragic fate. He was extremely skilled, but in the end, he failed due to the visa issue and could not go to Seattle to participate in the final international invitational tournament. This time, he also stopped in the top 8 in the solo challenge. No, Qin Guang can't lose anymore. After he finishes this competition, I want to see all of his match recordings. I feel that he has the esports standards of the next era. Even if we can only learn a little bit, it will be enough for us to benefit endlessly. That's right, Ocean, we have to do our best. Do your best. These two were not the only professional players who had the same thoughts. Any professional player who was trying to make a name for themselves on the path of professional esports could see another realm from the impeccable Qin Guang. Before Qin Guang could officially become a god, a stream of faith points flew out from the foreheads of many professional players who could understand his strength. They were knowledgeable. The knowledgeable had already regarded Qin Guang as a god in their hearts. Those who were not knowledgeable were arguing fiercely with others in the bullet screen. Those who did not know anything but pretended to know something had another set of simple criteria. They were waiting for Qin Guang to really win 200 matches in a row. If you can really crush all the contestants like what you boast about, then we'll be convinced by you wholeheartedly. Even if we do not understand this game, we will still admire you. After coming down from the stage, Qin Guang only had a short 1.5-hour break. On the stage were the guests that little Tsong had invited. A large group of internet celebrities that Qin Guang could not name were jumping around. Their performance would last until 8 p.m. Then, at night, Qin Guang would have to fight at least one more top player who had been voted in. This brother was also unlucky. Originally, his level wasn't much different from Brother Miracle's, but in the end, he ate something bad in the round of 32. He fought with the pain of diarrhea and was beaten black and blue by one who was playing with him. Fortunately, there were still votes. At least he had a chance to prove himself again. Brother Guang, are you tired? Why don't you rest a bit more? I have arranged quite a lot of guests. It won't be a problem to drag it out for another half an hour. Little Tsong said worriedly as he sat in front of Qin Guang, who was desperately stuffing food into his mouth. The more Qin Guang kept winning, the more he was afraid that Qin Guang would lose. The faster and cleanly Qin Guang won, the more he would gain face, and the greater the influence of his bamboo culture on Central TV Department 5's highlights. At first, he had thought that Qin Guang was only here to squander. But now, as the competition progressed and his influence grew, little Tsong gradually became worried about his gains and losses. This free ride was great, so of course he did not want to fall off. He only wanted to watch Qin Guang fly in the sky for the rest of his life. Don't bother. Those internet celebrities you found all look like ghosts. The amount of hyaluronic acid on their faces can be used to farm. Even their songs are terrible. Those northeastern girls speak with a Taiwanese accent. I'm so embarrassed that I'm about to explode, and you're still adding scenes for them? Qin Guang rolled his eyes. Just now, before he ate his food, he could not hold back his curiosity and sneaked a few glances from the side of the stage. He thought to himself that those female hosts on the same platform as him were all looking at beautiful women on the screen, so the scene would not be too bad, right? In the end, he almost lost his appetite for dinner the moment he saw it. "You're so heartless. I went through so much trouble to get her over here. Even the live broadcast room is in your room. I even gave all the bullet screen gifts to you. Those little girls worked so hard to help you, and it's fine if you don't even say thank you. How can you be so sarcastic?" Little Tsong felt wronged as he rubbed his thumb and middle finger together. Chen Guang looked at him silently. "Hurry up and disassociate yourself from those internet celebrity girlfriends of yours. If this goes on, you won't be able to speak properly. I heard that your hometown is quite close to Zhang Fei's. Don't make yourself into a sissy and ruin his reputation." Little Tsong stiffened. He realized that he was infected and coughed violently. "Then I'll introduce you to a few internet celebrity hosts. The kind with super hot bodies. I guarantee they're all natural and didn't undergo plastic surgery." "Sure." Little Tsong was stunned. "I thought you were a saint." In the end, Chen Guang thought for a moment and changed his words. "Forget it. Those people don't keep a lookout. God knows if they're trying to use me to get ahead. If word gets out that I'm cheating behind Jin Shiyue's back, I'll be at a huge disadvantage. Oh right, are you and Goddess Jin real or fake?" Little Tsong started gossiping. "Aren't you quite capable in your moments? Go check it out yourself." "No, I wouldn't dare to check you." At 8 o'clock, the highlight of the night started on time. Dachuan Satellite TV's primetime slot also started. Little Tsong's internet celebrities were not allowed to appear on satellite TV programs. Only Chen Guang's competition had that kind of influence. 2 hours later, the competition was over. He still had 10 consecutive victories. Chen Guang went home to sleep. So far, his Weibo fans had increased by hundreds of thousands, and the number of viewers in his live streaming room had reached 3 million. Apart from that, he had received more than 1 million cash top-up gifts for the entire day. Including the live streaming license fees that Little Tsong sold to the international platform, the gift income that he received from the international platform, and a small percentage of the sponsorship fees provided by the competition sponsors, Chen Guang counted with his fingers. He was quite surprised. He had spent $2 million as a competition prize, but he did not lose much money. He laid comfortably on the bed and enjoyed the satisfaction brought by the faith points that kept surging into his body like rivers flowing into the sea. He also paid the 1 million faith points he had saved over the past few days and prepared to go through the special training for his Achilles tendon and ankle, which was as big as a bathroom. Xianxia gritted her teeth and stuffed medicine into the sand jar. She mumbled, "I really thought that you would stop training for the rest of your life. I won't miss this opportunity today. I'll let you see my resolve." Whistling, he hung his clothes on the bathroom hook one by one. Then, Chen Guang carefully lifted his feet and stepped into the reinforced plastic bathtub that he had just changed 2 days ago. He was afraid that he would accidentally leak the bathtub again if he used too much force. The bathtub was not a big deal, but the medicine inside was very precious. As he stepped into the bathtub, the bathroom door was suddenly opened. It was Xianxia, who was wrapped in a bath towel again. *CK, what are you doing?" Chen Guang screamed. He was caught off guard by Xianxia's sudden attack. Then, a cracking sound came from under his feet. The strongest heavenly leg breaker in history easily pierced through the bathtub again. It was that easy and casual. Chen Guang could not be bothered with Xianxia anymore. He listened to the sound of water splashing under his feet, and his heart was bleeding. My medicine! He didn't have time to think carefully. He quickly lifted his legs and sat down. To be honest, the heavenly leg breaker was too sharp, and the reinforced plastic bathtub was made of good material. It just so happened that there was only a hole in the shape of a foot. He sat on the hole with his buttocks, and it was just right to plug the hole. Hearing the sound of water gradually stop, the blood in Chen Guang's heart stopped. Then, he turned his head and looked at Xianxia angrily. If you have anything to say it at the door. Don't rush in like this. I'm also thick-skinned. If it was someone thin-skinned, they would have called the police to warn you of molestation. Xianxia ignored him. Instead, she took a small stool and sat down next to Chen Guang's bathtub. I'll help you scrub your back. No, you really don't need it. Chen Guang wanted to reject her. I just want to scrub. Xianxia was determined today. She wanted to see how Chen Guang practiced the painting scroll with her own eyes. She wouldn't leave even if she was beaten to death. Chen Guang tried to get up and push her out. However, the moment he raised his buttocks, the medicine began to leak from both sides of his buttocks. He quickly sat down again. He felt helpless in his heart. He really couldn't get up. Don't be like this. Can't we talk it out? You're a young lady. Why don't you know how to be reserved? Do you really think I'm a good person? Aren't you afraid of getting burned playing with fire? Chen Guang changed the topic and deliberately put on a perverted look. His eyes wandered around the edge of Xianxia's bath towel wrapped around her chest. Xianxia shrugged nonchalantly. Why should I be afraid? You can't beat me anyway. Chen Guang was speechless. You make so much sense that I have nothing to say. You little lowly, you're so unreasonable and selfish. While he was cursing in his heart, he accidentally glanced down from the corner of his eyes. His eyes passed through the lower edge of Xianxia's bath towel and suddenly glanced at the middle of her legs. Cough, cough, cough. Then he couldn't hold it in for a moment. He choked on his own saliva and began to cough violently. He wiped his nostrils quietly, afraid that he would have a nosebleed. Well, in a sense, the little lowly was not selfish. Instead, she was very generous. What an exquisite, translucent, and beautiful white slanted-eyes tiger. She was a white tiger for short. You little girl, you're so unreserved. A man and a woman are alone in the bathroom. It's fine if you're wrapped in a bathrobe without a shirt, but you're not even wearing underwear. I just can't beat you, right? Is this how you torment me? I feel wronged, but I won't say it. Instead, I have to secretly laugh. Chen Guang slightly straightened his back without batting an eyelid. Feeling Xianxia's extremely inconsiderate and violent back rub, he pretended to turn his head to take another look. Unfortunately, the deputy director had already realized something. He snorted coldly and didn't expose him. He just blushed, clamped his legs, and slightly turned his head away. Sigh, there's nothing to see. Forget it, just based on that one glance, my life was worth it. He silently picked up the cup and pretended to drink water. Then he dived into the cup again. I seem to have forgotten something again? You shameless bastard. This was Liuli's scream. That's right. You're getting more and more outrageous. Although you also came in naked last time, at least you weren't that scary. Look at yourself. Your veins are bulging and you're like a huge dragon facing the sky. Are you trying to scare me and Sister Liuli to death? This was Lu Ming's rebuke. Chen Guang clamped his legs and covered his crotch. Damn, he forgot to wear underwear again. So embarrassing. Chapter 602. Forget it, this kind of thing became familiar the second time. Thinking about it carefully, there was nothing to be ashamed of. Anyway, the two people in this cup were not humans. One was a god, and the other was a deer that was suspected to be a god but was currently a flower. Hi, the two of you, long time no see. Did you miss me? Chen Guang smiled and spread his hands, walking in the direction of Liuli. Then he was punched to the ground. Liuli rubbed the hot surface of her fist, raised her foot and stepped on the back of Chen Guang, who was lying on the ground in Yunqing. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. She said fiercely, "This is revenge for turning me into a basin, and also revenge for taking advantage of me last time." Chen Guang lay on the ground, and there were dense cracks like spider webs under his body. It could be seen how powerful Liuli's punch was. He did not wake up until he was sucked into the world in the cup. He opened his eyes and thanked the gods for their blessings. It was great that it was not armor. After spending an additional 400,000 faith points, the user experience improvement was immediate. I actually have a bathroom. And it's a bathroom with a massage nozzle. Looking at the dense conical nozzles on the crystal-like bathroom wall, Chen Guang was a little puzzled. This time, he wanted to train his ankle and Achilles tendon. He thought it would be a race track or something. How could he train in this bathroom? If he knew this would happen, he would have saved more faith points. It seemed that the world in the cup with 1 million was still too small. Sigh, there was really no other way. It was hard to start a business, and he really could not stand the beggar version. It was already very strenuous for him to raise the price to the poor version to 1 million. He really felt bad for having to increase the price to enjoy the deluxe version. Just as he was thinking about how to train, a stream of water suddenly sprayed out from the conical nozzle on the wall. It was not wrong to say that it was a stream of water. It was just that the water was a little too strong, and it was a little too strong. Moreover, it was aimed at Chen Guang's ankle and Achilles tendon. With a snap, Chen Guang was blasted by the water and spun around in the narrow and transparent bathroom. Only then did he realize that the world in the cup was weightless. He felt a throbbing pain in his feet. It was as if the bones in his ankles had been crushed by the terrifying force of water. He also felt a tearing pain in his Achilles tendon. According to the injuries of football players, it was about time for Chen Guang to consider retirement. Unfortunately, he had only been in the cup world for a few minutes, and he was already howling in the air. He could roughly guess the training method of the world within cup this time. It seemed to be no different from the foot bath of destruction. It was nothing more than an upgrade to the super high-pressure water gun massage of destruction. Even though the space was bigger, it seemed to be worse. Not only did his feet hurt, but he also felt dizzy. Before he could stop spinning, the high-pressure water guns seemed to be coming again. However, he was like a top spinning endlessly in the air, like a cat that had mistakenly entered a washing machine. In Yunqing, Lu Minghua asked Liuli curiously, "Sister Liuli, what are you this time?" Lu Li, water gun. A water gun? No, a room full of water guns. This time, the process of Chen Guang's special training could be described as a very classic old song. Spinning and jumping, I close my eyes. Originally, Liuli planned to wait for Chen Guang to come out and then beat him up to vent the hatred in her heart. But in the end, she was still moved by compassion. She really didn't want to recall Chen Guang's experience in the crystal bathroom. It was too pitiful and miserable. After coming out, Chen Guangzai sat in Cloud City in a daze for nearly 24 hours. He shook his head and slowly stood up. He tried to take a few steps, but he was still walking in circles unconsciously. What made Liuli even more speechless was that the circle he walked on the ground was too standard. It was as if he was drawing a compass. Coming out of the cup world, Chen Guang opened his eyes and looked at the bathroom ceiling above his head, which was still spinning. He didn't feel anything about Xianxia's so-called backscrubbing. He just thought silently in his heart, "When I wake up, can I stop spinning?" He lay down slowly, no longer struggling or paying attention to Xianxia. He just lay there like a corpse with blank eyes, feeling that his whole body was very round. Xianxia was startled by his walking dead appearance. She stretched out her hand and waved it in front of his eyes. "Hey! What's wrong with you?" Chen Guang turned his head to look at her. "If you want to scrub my back properly. Why do you always spin in circles?" "Who's spinning in circles? What's wrong with you? Could it be that you are possessed by the devil while practicing the painting scroll?" Xianxia asked worriedly. "No, I am not possessed by the devil." Chen Guang withdrew his eyes and still lay in the bathtub like a dead dog. "All right, you can go out. I don't want you to scrub my back anymore. I really don't want you to scrub my back anymore. If you scrub my back again, it will be ruined. You want to send me away to secretly practice martial arts? Dream on. I don't believe that you are pretending to be crazy." Xianxia gritted her teeth and said fiercely, "After you scrub the back, you still have the front. It's the same if you turn it over and scrub it again." If it was the normal Chen Guang, he would definitely explain to this little comrade who had completely failed biology knowledge and tell her what was the difference between a man's front and back. But now, he really didn't want to talk. He just wanted to close his eyes and quietly rub his temples like a handsome man. It was still all right when his senses were completely sealed in the world in the cup. No matter how much he spun, it was still bearable. But after coming out, he was even more trapped in that feeling of spinning nonstop. It was like a person who had been sitting on a train for a long time and felt the ground shake when he stood on it. Seeing Chen Guang's indifferent expression, Xianxia was even more convinced that he was deliberately trying to make her retreat. She hated Chen Guang to death. Was it so difficult to just let her take a look at his cultivation? As long as she couldn't see the pithy formula, she couldn't learn the real painting scroll. How could he be so petty? With a heart full of anger, the New Age scrubbing worker rubbed harder. But a few minutes later, Xianxia realized something was wrong. Originally, she could still muster up the courage to stay here because the medicinal bath in the bathtub was thick and brown, and visibility was extremely low. She couldn't see the parts of Chen Guang that weren't under the water at all. It was as harmonious as one could imagine. But after a few minutes, the color of the medicinal bath had obviously lightened a lot. Xianxia felt like she had seen a ghost. She didn't understand this last time and was skeptical about his claim that he didn't change the water. But now that she saw this incredible change with her own eyes, she had no choice but to believe it. She sat in a daze for another 2 to 3 minutes. The color of the medicinal bath in the bathtub became even lighter. Some scenes that were not good for a girl's physical and mental health gradually appeared. She was finally afraid and finally believed Chen Guang's nonsense. There was really something wrong with this guy. He was really a rare genius that only appeared once in 1,000 years. This frightening absorption power of the medicine, how unimaginable was it? It was really depressing to think about it. She had trained hard day and night, but she was stuck at the threshold of skin strength and couldn't make any progress. This guy just lay in the bathtub and soaked in medicine, and the bone of the sole of his feet had such an obvious improvement. It wasn't fair. Forget it, it's so ugly. I'll leave first. Xianxia got up with a heart full of depression and returned to her room in loneliness. She didn't want to test Chen Guang's painting scroll anymore. This guy really didn't practice. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, Xianxia would never believe that there was really a winner in this world who could become a peerless master without doing anything. Chen Guang had no idea what Xianxia was thinking. How could he tell the bitterness of his life to an outsider? This really couldn't be called winning without doing anything. I trained harder than anyone else. Bang, bang, bang. He didn't know how many times he bumped into things in the room, but he finally stumbled back to his room. He lay on the bed like a zombie, still feeling dizzy. Forget it, I'll sleep first. I hope I won't be so cool tomorrow. The next morning, Chen Guang decided to call Xiao Chong to arrange a car to pick him up. He couldn't drive his car anymore, but it was still spinning too much. It was as comfortable as drinking wine until it was half done. He finally arrived at the provincial stadium on time, but his terrible mental state still affected his competition today. Unlike the previous 70 victories, he actually died twice in a row at the beginning of today's battle. If he died again, he would lose his complete victory record. However, a god was still a god. After experiencing the initial discomfort, he still managed to endure it. Moreover, he relied on a bold and careful confrontation to successfully counterattack and pull the situation back in his favor. 10 minutes later, the revitalized Chen Guang successfully won the first round, and from then on, it was unstoppable. That day, he broke his winning streak record to 140. He was also quite tired after playing the game with discomfort. When he returned home, it was already 10:30 at night, and he fell asleep on his bed. He didn't know that the miracles he had created in the past 2 days had completely exploded on the internet. No matter what field, an absolutely powerful dominating player's influence was often not limited to his own field. For example, people who didn't like watching football knew the names of Messi and Ronaldo. People who didn't like watching basketball knew the name of the god of basketball, Jordan. People who didn't like racing also knew that there was a man named Schumacher who once dominated Formula One racing for many years. At this time, Chen Guang was walking on such a path. Moreover, compared to other strong players in a certain field who still had disputes and opponents, the dominance that Chen Guang had shown so far was indisputable. In the field of football, the debate about who was more perfect between Messi and Ronaldo had never stopped. In the field of basketball, Even someone as great as Jordan had to face Russell, Chamberlain, and Johnson to compete for a place in history. The competition between Schumacher and Hakkinen was even more popular. But Qin Guang was different. So far, as long as he tried to dominate the field, he wouldn't let anyone make a second voice. For example, the indisputable strength he showed on the Xiangjiang track, the 9 darts he always cleared in the World Darts Championship, and the 140 consecutive wins in solo matches. His success could never be replicated because once he did it, he could do it to the extreme that no one had done before or after. Dota players and professional players were talking about him, League of Legends players and professional players were also talking about him. The entire esports circle was talking about him. Even outside of the esports circle, to the entire sports world with competitive nature, he was also being discussed. People couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. Was there anything that Qin Guang couldn't do? In the end, was there anything that he couldn't do? Chapter 603. These people didn't know what Qin Guang couldn't do well, but everyone knew that if there wasn't an irresistible force, no one in the world would be able to stop Qin Guang from being crowned as king tomorrow. Some things were just so strange. Even if they knew the result from the start, these people still felt their blood boil when they thought of that scene. The global Dota Solo Throne Challenge grew from nothing, and the attention grew from low to high. From an unbridled young man who seemed to be clamoring in a dream, to a hero who trained hard and finally became a great person, to be crowned on the stage. More and more people paid attention to this competition. At the start, the number of people who signed up for the competition was in the millions, but by the opening match, the audience had already reached the tens of millions. But unknowingly, when Qin Guang really won 140 matches in a row, the attention of the last day of the Throne Challenge had already exceeded 100 million to a certain extent. More and more people started to remember. They might have found out about this from different channels. At the start, this was treated as a joke, but now this joke was about to become real. A competition without suspense shouldn't be attractive, but if everyone knew that he could really win and that he was really going to step on the heads of all the players to be crowned as king, everyone would want to personally see him take that last step. Those who liked and were passionate about esports were mostly young and energetic people. Even many people born in the 80s, who were once youths, had already gone on to various jobs as they graduated, becoming the mainstay of the country and society. But no matter whether they became so-called managers, so-called middle management, or section chiefs, no matter whether they were high-spirited or solemn, no one could deny that they were once young. Employees who had just started working would think that these people born in the 80s were cold-faced leaders, that they were unreasonable, and that they were inflexible. But no matter if they were born in the 90s or in the 80s, who hadn't been youthful, who hadn't been hot-blooded. Time flew, and no one could find back what was lost. It was only hidden in the corner of their memories, occasionally surging up in their minds in the middle of the night. They were either hugging their wives and children, or sitting by the window and looking at the dark sky outside, but their minds were gradually recalling the sounds and scenes of the past. We recalled the past, and it was as if we had returned to the time when a large group of people crowded in a university dorm room, shouting in groups of 5 to 6. We endured the heat of the scorching summer night as we roared with sweat dripping down our foreheads. When you are killed under the tower, 4 TP cards will light up at the same time. When you are being chased by 5 people and are about to fall to the ground in the next second, your roommate will descend from the sky with his centaur mammoth, reversing the yin and yang, cutting off the path of all the enemies. Just as your fire lady was on the verge of death, your teammate, the soul guard, sounded the war drum and rushed over from behind like a god descending to the mortal world. He ignited his black emperor scepter and held your hand tightly, using the soul barrier to transfer his life to you. When all your outer towers and barracks fell under the enemy's overwhelming attack, you controlled Medusa and held the holy sword that your teammates had bought with their lives to forge for you, defending the world tree with your own strength. When you and your teammates withstood the pressure of guarding Athena and shouted, "As long as the tower doesn't fall, we won't retreat." When you, who were in charge of the support, were defeated time and time again, and even lost the courage to step out of the spring, your teammate, Will-O-Wisp, finally came out of the radiance. He told you, "Brother, thank you. Leave the rest to me." When the team battle erupted, your teammates were defeated by the enemy. Your wandering swordsman finally found an opportunity. He roared and roared. Golden light flashed as he summoned the power of God and jumped into the crowd. He stunned all the enemies with the storm hammer and waved Daedalus' mortis fiercely, using the enemy's dark red blood to sacrifice the lives of his teammates. When everyone thought that they had failed and that the 5 enemies were about to destroy all your barracks, you and your teammates sold their equipment at the same time, took out flying shoes, and landed in front of the enemy's world tree to turn the situation around. All these memories gradually faded with the erosion of time, but they were always like assassins hiding in the dark, suddenly jumping out when you were not paying attention, ruthlessly stabbing the softest part of your ribs, causing you to unknowingly feel heartache and hot tears welling up in your eyes. In fact, what people cared about the most wasn't the game itself, but the youth and memories that had been taken over by the game. Our computers had changed from Pentium to Core, our mice had changed from Dual Swallow to Thunder Snake, and our keyboards had changed from 30 yuan street goods to green red black tees dazzling backlit mechanical keyboards. The environment in which we played games had also changed from crowded dorms that were as hot as steamers to high-end internet cafes or our own study rooms. Our game screens had also changed from the crude War 3 to the Origin 2 engine's Dota 2. Everything was getting better and better, but the lost youth and memories could never be found again. No matter how good the internet cafes and study rooms were, they couldn't compare to the once steamer-like dorms because things remained the same, but people had changed. However, no matter how good one's youth was, one would eventually grow old. Time was like gold, and it would always be blown away by the wind and rain. Perhaps we would take a break from our busy work to watch the competition, to see the players that we used to admire, and to see that they were now as old as we were. We would also be secretly sad about the desolation of Dota, and we would also fight with the League of Legends players until our faces were red with anger, even if it was meaningless. No one could deny that the game was ultimately just a passerby. What would never change in life was responsibility, be it family, life, or work. These people from the 80s and 90s had their own duties and responsibilities, pulling themselves away from the sharp edges of their youth and turning them into smooth gears, quietly staying in the corners of this world where they needed to stay, earning a little bit of the salary that they deserved, and using this salary to continue living, waiting to grow old, waiting to be forgotten by this era. However, what Chen Guang had done these days had pulled back those former players, current office workers, and the old men that had a generation gap in the words of the young people. They also wanted to see what kind of person could actually be crowned as the king of the game that they had once been crazy and infatuated with. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the competition hadn't started yet, but the viewership ratings of Dechuan Province Satellite TV had already stabilized at more than 1.5%. This was almost the highest viewership ratings of Dechuan Satellite TV in the past few years. At this time, the television was still playing the Dechuan Morning Comprehensive News program. Everyone knew that these people were all here for the King's Challenge on the last day. In Bamboo Culture, Chen Guang's personal live broadcast room was currently playing the highlights of yesterday and the day before, but the number of viewers had risen steadily, quickly breaking through the tens of millions, and it continued to rise. The server resources that Xiao Tsong had deliberately allocated specifically for this competition were almost unable to hold on. He made a prompt decision and decided to open a second and third channel in Chen Guang's name, mobilizing all the streaming resources that the entire Bamboo Culture could mobilize. At least more than 90% of the entire platform's bandwidth was placed on Chen Guang's competition. The foreign live broadcast platform simply applied for a second authorization from Xiao Tsong, distributing the live broadcast signal to 3 different companies in Europe, America, and Asia for distribution. ESPN Sports Channel signed an agreement with Xiao Tsong last night, putting the entire day's overseas cable TV resources on this competition. The provincial stadium was already full, and there were no empty seats. No one would have thought that an esports competition that was hastily prepared would actually grow from nothing to being famous all over the world in 7 days. Such a concept was almost equivalent to building a city of Rome in 7 days. If others wanted to organize a competition, they would start to publicize it a month or two in advance, then gather all the best players together, and finally get tens of millions of global attention. Even the annual TI International Invitational Tournament, which was held at the very top, had at most 30 to 40 million viewers. But for Chen Guang's competition, from 1 million to 20 million, that was, from the official start of registration to the opening ceremony, it only took 4 days. From 20 million at the opening ceremony to today's accumulation, it directly broke through 100 million, all in just 2 days. What was the concept of a competition that broke through 100 million attention? 1/30th of the Olympic Games, 1/20th of the World Cup, 7/8 of the European Championship, 3/4 of the Champions League. This description might be more convenient to quantify. There were many reasons for this, but in the final analysis, it could not be separated from the most important point, and that was that he really kept winning. He was turning what the world thought was completely impossible into a reality. This went beyond the scope of esports and became a human challenge to their own limits. He expanded the spontaneity of a news to the extreme, and the effect was more immediate than the greatest publicity and marketing. Others spent money to buy headlines, but he was the headline, spending money to buy his news. This was the difference. His only regret was that he didn't realize the economic value of the competition in the beginning. Of course, not many people would believe him if he told them at that time. No one was willing to pay a high price for a competition that he came up with on a whim. For example, the Olympic transportation fee and the broadcasting license fee of the World Cup were in the billions of US dollars. But it was obviously impossible for satellite TV stations or ESPN to spend tens of millions of US dollars to buy his live broadcast of the competition, even if it was only a few tenths of the Olympic broadcasting license fee. People would think he was crazy. He had helped Little Tsong and the platform company that was the first to buy the rights to broadcast overseas live streaming online. He had also helped Daoist Satellite TV earn a great deal for free. Even the advertising sponsors were just a few small brands. Now, the people in charge of these small brands were overjoyed. But this did not matter, and he could not blame anyone. If he did not decide to give Xiao Tsong and the foreign platforms such good treatment from the beginning, the other party would not have put so much effort into supporting the publicity resources. As long as one was not an idiot, they would be able to imagine that Chen Guang could create a sword tower throne challenge. Maybe next time, he could also create a global race of the top racers. So far, he had shown a lot of tricks, and it was not difficult to recreate a miracle. Chen Guang didn't know how to do business, nor did he pay much attention to it. However, others knew it in their hearts. Only when everyone cooperated happily could it be a long-term sustainable cooperation. A took advantage of me today and did not give me any benefits in return. So next time, I can look for B or I can look for C. In a sense, Chen Guang used such a top-level solo throne challenge to tell everyone that he had changed from an ordinary internet celebrity in the traditional sense to a global phenomenal content provider. The content he could provide was very simple and crude. It was his own personal skill show, but it was exceptionally effective. In the afternoon, when the sun was setting, looking at the other party's GG on the screen, Chen Guang let out a long sigh of relief. He picked up the cup and drank the water casually, feeling the incoming faith value, and stuffed it into the world in the cup. The Sword Tower Cup world's faith value was full, and the daily production was 44455. These days, the Dear Cry flower seemed to be developing quite well. His Weibo fans had reached 15 million, and the number of viewers in the live broadcast room had reached 4.8 million. In the past 3 days of live broadcast, the total gifts received were close to 4 million in cash, and it was still growing. Daoist Satellite TV, under the pressure of the policy of only smashing the chrysanthemum, forced the live broadcast for a whole day, and the average rating was 2%, setting a new record for the entire television station. After considering the impact on the income of the TV station, Daoist Satellite TV finally decided to pay 7.86 million yuan in cash for the sponsorship fees from the advertising sponsors that had been forcefully stuffed into the TV station in the past 2 days. In addition to the 1 5 million yuan from the licensing fees for the live broadcast. The total was 36 million yuan, all of which was paid to Bamboo Culture. The overseas live broadcast platform, on the other hand, paid a total of 4 million renminbi for the license fees, 6 million for the post-production distribution license fees, and 38 million for the live broadcast room gifts. After deducting 15% of the expenses and processing fees, a total of 77 million renminbi was paid to Bamboo Culture. ESPN bought the last day's live broadcast license and paid $2 million. After deducting other expenses, Bamboo Culture received another 10 million renminbi. The other domestic sponsors' fees added up to a total of 600,000 renminbi. Okay, this was indeed quite shameful. In addition, the live ticket revenue was 5 million renminbi. Okay, this unlucky person's ticket revenue was not even enough to pay for the construction of the stage. However, Little Tsong decided not to take any of the money mentioned above. He did not want any dividends at all. He even added another 20 million to Chen Guang when he had already invested 10 million in the competition itself. There was no other way. The publicity effect he had enjoyed during this time was really too good, and it made him feel so good that he could fly. He found that he had been deeply infatuated with the pleasure of hitching a ride, and he was completely unable to extricate himself. A total of 7 or 8 days of competition made his Bamboo live broadcast, which was originally ranked third in the country, rush to the first place. Whether it was the number of active users or the traffic, it was double first. He was not stupid. As long as he followed Chen Guang to run this platform well, he would have more money slowly. However, if he made Chen Guang uncomfortable, not to mention offending the second and third generations in Beijing, Chen Guang would be unhappy and switch to other platforms, and he would have no place to cry. Therefore, this meant that Chen Guang himself spent $2 million to make this global feast, and in the end, not only did he not lose, but he also made a net profit of about 48 million renminbi. This was an exaggeration, but if you really consider that the actual impact of this competition was 1/20th of the World Cup, it was really not surprising. This was also the first time he had done this kind of thing. He had no experience, and others also did not have confidence in him. If he really wanted to operate strictly according to the business model of promotion for a competition of this scale, as the organizer and the most important content provider, it was reasonable to earn hundreds of millions. Of course, at this time, he was still completely unaware of this. He was sitting on the esports chair, enjoying the final glory and temporary satisfaction of this stage, satisfied with the production of faith value in the cup to the top. He slowly got up and opened his arms. The afterglow of the sunset shone on him through the reflection of the glass on all sides of the provincial stadium. More than 70 spotlights shone on him at the same time, making him, who had just been crowned through the King's Challenge, look exceptionally tall. "Everyone, thank you for your support," Chen Guang said. All-powerful Chen Guang. The strongest on earth. No one knew who first thought of this slogan, but it quickly resonated with countless people in the stadium. It first sounded from the corner, and then quickly spread throughout the whole stadium. Chen Guang smiled. Looking around, the whole stadium was filled with white faith value threads. That was how it should have been. He had used the loudest voice in history to tell everyone that they could boast about him as much as they wanted, because his Dota was the strongest. Chapter 604. Suppressing the smugness in his heart and replacing it with Leon's coldness, Chen Guang maintained the coldness and dominance of an assassin on the stage until the last second. Only when he slowly descended from the lift to the ground did he excitedly clench his fist. Success. Previously, he was worried whether it was feasible for him to use such a deliberate method to manipulate his faith. After all, his purpose was too strong, and others might not accept it. Now that his faith value had been filled to the brim, it finally gave him a reassurance. The process wasn't important, the method wasn't important, and it didn't matter if it was intentional or not. What was important was whether he could use the right method to bring out his strength in a certain field and gain everyone's recognition. When he boasted himself to the throne, he had indeed been questioned and ridiculed by many. But when he really sat firmly on the throne with 200 undisputed victories, it was just as he had expected. He had struck it rich. The amount of slander he could withstand was the amount of praise he could withstand. The crown was never bestowed by others, but fought for bit by bit with his own hands. As long as he won irrefutably, he naturally wasn't afraid of any doubts. The more vehemently those who doubted him, the stronger the faith they sent to Qin Guang when he was crowned. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, who would have thought that the game could be played like this? In the foreseeable future, the entire game will probably undergo earth-shaking changes because of his solo competition this time. I've been reviewing his matches these past 2 nights. The more I watch, the more details there are. It's really frightening. This was the evaluation of a professional Dota player. I really didn't like this person in the past. I always felt that he was too arrogant and didn't seem like a Chinese. I also felt that his previous score of 10 million in 4 servers was fake. Only God knows if he found a lot of actors. But this time, I'm convinced. I'm completely convinced. This was a Dota player who used to hate Qin Guang, but now worshipped Qin Guang. Brother Almighty is invincible without explanation. Alright, this was a brainless fan. I'm wet. This was a female version of the brainless fan. I'm hard. This was a gay brainless fan. That's why I always say that Dota doesn't make it balanced. We don't do this in L. No matter which player, no matter how strong they are, they still have to lose. Who can win 200 consecutive matches? It's simply unscientific. He was one of the League of Legends players next door. Don't be a F***king fan. You're trying to set the pace again. I've been using a knife for 5 years and masturbating for 3 years. I'm a master of KO. Brother Allrounder is really good. No matter what game you're in, you'll always be good when you're good. I really want to see him play League of Legends too. If that's the case, I'll be his biggest fan. Which Dao Zhuan above me is also a rhythm dog. Scram. You guys continue arguing, I'm going to play ranked. Anyway, I'm convinced. I hate everyone who plays Dota, except for Brother Almighty. It wasn't just the League of Legends players, the entire esports circle, and even the audience that knew about today's event, had the same thought. No one would have thought that in a very secret and secure basement in Beijing, a group of old men who would never watch an esports competition would actually be discussing in front of the TV. I really don't know what young people are thinking these days. What's the point of these colorful little people throwing yellow and green lumps at each other on the computer? I really don't understand why young people nowadays like this. Isn't it better to go out for a run and exercise when they have time? That's why it's called the generation gap. You don't understand young people's thoughts. What do they call this? Right, it's called esports. Some time ago, the Sports Bureau sent a report to my desk, saying that they want to make esports an official sport. I didn't approve it before, but I really have to think about it later. An old man in charge of the Sports Bureau said so. Why don't we add esports to the national games? Forget it, there's a wide variety of these things, and these are young people's fashion stuff. If we let those good-for-nothings do it, they might not be good enough. Market-oriented management might be better than the old 3 methods. We just need to give appropriate encouragement from the policy. That's right, this time the competition organized by old Jin's grandson-in-law is quite popular, and the effect is very good. People all over the country like to watch it, including foreigners. Old Jin's grandson-in-law is smart. He's really a young hero. Stop praising him. If you keep praising him, old Jin's mouth will crack. Look at his poor and cocky face. I'm really anxious. Old Jiang, why are you so anxious? Who told you to always control your granddaughter? You two saved her together. Why is he with old Jin's granddaughter? Isn't it because you, old Jiang, are controlling your granddaughter too tightly? You shut up. If you keep talking, I'll get angry with you. Look at old Jiang, he's really anxious. Old Jiang sighed. Sometimes I also wonder if I'm really controlling too much. I have to say, some of my Yage's characters are really like mine. The more I control her, the more stubborn she becomes, making her as difficult as a wild child. In the end, old Jin's Shuriwei is a well-educated and reasonable lady. Old Jin proudly pinched his chin. Come on, the children and grandchildren have their own blessings. What era are we living in? How can we old men manage everything? Young people should be free to do whatever they want. The old man in the middle raised his hand and motioned for everyone to be quiet. Thanks to Chen Guang's activity during this time, we basically didn't make any mistakes before. How's the individual military exercise going, old Jiang? Jiang Yage's grandfather coughed twice. Everything is going well. It can be held on time in 8 days. Very good. Old Lu, how's the meeting with the reliable personnel of the Special Case Bureau? We've probed almost all of them. About 1/3 of them can talk openly. So far, there have been no problems. Only the person in charge of the Liao and branch is a little bit out of place and has been secretly controlled. Ask our people to probe more clearly before the next meeting. Even if there is the slightest sign, we must not reveal anything. Before the exercise officially starts, we must prevent the news from leaking. Okay. How's the communication with the 3 aristocratic families? The Wen family is currently busy fighting with the Poison sect and the Dark sect, but the leader of the Wen family, Wen, has expressed her goodwill to us. However, the other 2 families haven't made a clear statement yet. It seems that they are also waiting to see what the Wen family will do. Very good. Keep communicating. If the Wen family needs it, we can try our best to provide information support. It's not only to test the progress of our technology over the years, but also to let the inner force martial artists understand that the times are different. If we really want to go all out to find some clues, it won't be as difficult as we think. Remember, the information we provide must be reliable and accurate. Don't mention anything you don't know. Once you mention it, it must be useful. Okay. The old man in the middle closed his eyes and pondered for a long time, sketching a complete outline of all the information and the current situation in his mind. He was very satisfied with the current progress. Finally, he gently knocked on the table. How's the progress of the Guangding Bureau? Has the list of the first batch of staff been confirmed? How are we going to contact Qin Guang? The list has been confirmed. It's part of the special trainees that Qin Guang specially trained in the Shun Special Training Camp. They are reliable, loyal, and at the same time, they have a lot of respect for Qin Guang. As for the specific operation method, it's tentatively decided that the International Financial Group will take the lead. Using Chen Guang's current identity as an artist as an entry point, they will adopt the model of investing in his online celebrity identity. They will form a management company around Qin Guang, and then gradually install this batch of special trainees into the company. Very good, but we must make sure that every one of them is absolutely reliable. At the same time, we must completely clean up their establishment files and eliminate anyone who has dealings with inner force martial artists to prevent the news from leaking. Meeting dismissed. When most of the people had left, the old man in charge of the literary department purposely lagged behind and said with some embarrassment, I say, boss, I have an idea. Isn't the name of Qin Guang's new department a little too childish? On the internet, this is a crooked name that people use to scold the headquarters that I am in charge of. It's a little embarrassing for me to keep calling it that. Anyway, it's just a temporary name. I think it's pretty good. If the news gets leaked, it won't be too fatal, and we can still deceive them. Don't be embarrassed. You can't manage things yourself. What's wrong with being scolded by others? The old man in the middle didn't listen at all and got up to leave. The poor old man rubbed his nose and felt a little wronged in his heart. It was quite depressing to be scolded by others all day long. Furthermore, this matter wasn't easy to manage. What? You said there's a total of 60 million yuan? Chen Guang stared at little Tsong with wide eyes, and his heart was blooming with joy. Previously he was still worried. Although the effect of organizing the Dota competition was good, it was too expensive. He had wasted more than 10 million yuan in one go. He was calculating the 40 million yuan that Long Dingtian had compensated, 5 million yuan that he had extorted from Xian Qin, and he had spent another 13 million yuan. Very quickly, He was only left with a little more than 20 million yuan. Next time, if he wanted to do something, he would probably have to tighten his belt. In the end, Brother Little Tsong actually said that he could earn 60 million yuan this time. After deducting the expenses, it meant that other than gaining faith and reputation, he had actually earned 48 million yuan. How could he not be happy? It was to the extent that he couldn't control his emotions during the celebration banquet and exclaimed softly. Looking at Chen Guang's shocked expression, Little Tsong knew that he had successfully coaxed this old man again. Little Tsong laughed and said, "Of course, I wouldn't dare to joke around with you. Until now, the money is still coming in. Latest by tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, I will transfer it to your UBS account. If there's a penny less, you can come back and hang me on a tree." Chen Guang pinched his fingers and calculated. Although he wasn't particularly concerned about these things, he had a rough idea of the previous contracts. That's not right. There's still a gap of 20 million yuan. I calculated that I could earn at most 28 million yuan. Where did you get this number? Little Tsong laughed again. I paid 20 million myself. Chen Guang turned his head and looked at Zhong Bai beside him. He felt a little embarrassed. All along, Brother Little Tsong had helped him so much because of Zhong Bai's favor. This time, Brother Little Tsong had done such a good job. Not only did Brother Little Tsong not earn money, he even paid for it. But now, Brother Little Tsong actually gave him money. How embarrassing. But the fat meat that was already in his mouth, he couldn't bear to spit it out. He cursed in his heart. Little Tsong, you tricked me. Aren't you making things difficult for me? If I take your money, I don't feel justified. If I don't take your money, I won't be able to face my conscience. Why don't you just not mention this matter? How happy would that be? Zhong Bai looked at the dirty expression on Little Tsong's face and recalled the joke he had with Chen Guang in the past. At that time, he had been talking to him about the fees for the racing god training class. Little Tsong had stuck out a finger. Initially, he had meant 10,000 a day, but Little Tsong had thought it was 100,000 a day. In the end, Little Tsong had followed along and continued the conversation. Later on, everyone had talked about this matter. Little Tsong had said that even if it was 1,000,000 a day, they would not reject it, much less 100,000 a day. At that time, Brother Guang had looked so regretful that he was pounding his chest and stamping his feet. He was an awkward person. He loved money to death, but he was also very thin-skinned. He coughed lightly and patted Chen Guang's shoulder. Brother Guang, don't think that Little Tsong gave you this money for free. You don't even know how much he got this time. What do you mean? Chen Guang asked, puzzled. Zhong Bai started counting with his fingers. In just a few days, the number of registered users of Little Tsong's company has doubled, and the number of active users has tripled. The actual traffic of the entire platform has increased by 1.5 times. In the live streaming industry, the overall value of the platform does not increase linearly. The higher the status of the platform in the industry, the more room for the overall market value to increase. Before this competition of yours, his company was ranked third in the country, with a market value of $200 million. Now that it has become the number one in the country, his current market value is 800 million. F***ck, then why are you only giving me 20 million? What a beast! Little Tsong was shocked. He thought that Chen Guang was unhappy and wanted to increase the price. He was so nervous that he did not know what to say. However, Chen Guang waved his hand and said, "All right, I'm just joking with you. I'm not stupid. The market value is just a concept. It doesn't mean that it will change. Besides, the aunties who cook on the street know that this industry looks popular, but in fact, God knows how much of it is not. Everyone knows that. 20 million is not bad. Little Tsong, you are quite kind. I can't accept more even if you give me." Little Tsong chuckled. "Thank you, Brother Guang, for your understanding." Zhong Bai sighed in his heart. He was a little disappointed with Little Kong. If Little Tsong knew Chen Guang's character, he would have gone along with his words and joked with him. He would have slammed the table and howled, "If I earn money, I'll give you 100 million or 200 million. Chen Guang would definitely not want it, but their relationship would become closer. In the end, Little Tsong was worried that Qin Guang would really increase the price. That would mean that he had underestimated Qin Guang's character. Zhong Bai also understood that although Brother Racing God looked like he did not care about anything, he was actually very clear in his heart. Otherwise, why would he pat his shoulder without batting an eyelid? Chen Guang really thought that way in Zhong Bai's heart, but he did not particularly care. Some people could be brothers, some could be friends, and some could be business partners. People like Little Tsong, who could be between friends and business partners, were quite reliable, but their personalities did not seem to be particularly compatible with each other. How could one be so lucky in life to meet people who were as compatible as Wang Baoyan and Meng Pi wherever he went? After the celebratory banquet, Qin Guang drove home. Little Loli was sitting in front of the computer, flipping through videos. Although she was not particularly happy to see Qin Guang play games, she was very diligent when it came to work. She did not even need Qin Guang to take the initiative to start editing the exciting scenes from Qin Guang's live broadcasts over the past 2 days. She planned to help him make a documentary and post it on Weibo. Qin Guang stood behind her and watched for a while. He felt his heart ache to see her so focused. Why don't you rest if you're tired? Why don't you go to bed early and do it tomorrow? In fact, his belief in Dodo was already completely full. Even if this documentary was released, there would not be any substantial benefits, but he could not tell little Loli either. If she knew that what she did was useless, how sad would she be? What was even sadder was that she did not understand this game at all. She did not get any of the really exciting scenes. From the beginning to the end, it was only the moment when the opponent fell to the ground. She could not show any exciting maneuvers at all. Xianxia shook her head. No, I'm not sleepy. I'll finish it for you today and try to release it tomorrow morning. Actually, the people from CCTV said that they wanted to make a compilation. They should have already started working on it now. They have a team. Before he could finish, Xianxia threw away the mouse and turned around to look at him with a wronged expression. Why didn't you say so earlier? You don't know how much of a headache I gave you. What kind of lousy game is this? I don't understand it at all. Previously, I tried to go to that Dota Tieba forum to post a short excerpt, and in the end, hundreds of people scolded me for cutting something like sh*t. It really pissed me off. Chen Guang looked at her helplessly. His heart ached for his little sister for 30 seconds. How would I have thought that you would be so proactive? All right, let's go to the city early tomorrow morning. Xianxia only had the mood to say this after she had bitten off an entire watermelon. What are we going to do? Chen Guang was puzzled. To be a boss. Xianxia said a little foolishly. Then, she threw a handwritten document into Chen Guang's hands. Burn it after you read it. Chen Guang did not read it for long before he was amused. He had wasted more than 100 million yuan for Lioli, but he had not seen any results yet. Who knew where that deceptive company that did not even exist was now? He thought that his dream of being a boss was completely shattered. In the end, he had found a glimmer of hope in his darkest hour. According to this document, he was really going to be a boss tomorrow, and it was going to be a super big one at that. Such news would appear on the front pages of all the major media outlets. A new chapter in the economic realization of an internet celebrity, the road to fame of the country's #1 internet celebrity. A well-known multinational financial group splurged 100 million yuan to create the #1 domestic internet celebrity brand. How much can a person's fame be worth? Brother Quan will give you the answer. 130 million yuan. There were too many to list. Chapter 605. But no matter how shocking the title was, the content was more or less the same. Tang Jie Fund, an international financial group from the United States, officially invested in the famous domestic internet celebrity, Superman. The initial investment was $20 million, or about 130 million renminbi. The Tianguang Company was established to develop various business and commercialize around Superman. Chen Guang held 50% of the shares in the Tianguang Company, and the Tang Jie Fund held 50% of the shares. This terrifying amount of investment completely changed the upper limit of internet celebrity financing and the three views of the internet celebrity economy. This would definitely become a national breaking news. The mysterious but powerful Tang Jie Fund would definitely become a synonym for the rich idiots of the new generation. In fact, even Chen Guang was at a loss. Before the solo competition, Chen Guang had no idea how he could make a living as an internet celebrity. He could earn some Weibo traffic and donations. Then he could start a live stream or accept some advertisements. Over the course of a month, he could easily earn 1 million yen to 2 million yen, and he could be considered as a member of the upper class. Indeed, the world's first solo throne challenge had opened a new world for him. It made him realize that money could be earned this way. But this could be done even without other people's investment. Chen Guang expressed that he did not intend to share a portion of the money with others, especially with a financial group that was tied together for political reasons. Then, other than the solo competition, what other methods could he use to earn money? Using his fame to open a restaurant? Save it. How many celebrities actually made money from their F&B business? Xinhe Zhuang or Shang Shangqian were the minority. Most of the restaurants opened by celebrities occupied prime locations and were gathering dust. Or a fashion brand. However, Chen Guang swiftly rejected this thought. Celebrities that could establish a fashion brand had to be well suited to the fashion industry. With his down-to-earth character, he wouldn't want to act like a bourgeoisie, so he might as well sell farming tools instead of a fashion brand. After thinking about it, he finally came to a conclusion. There was only one feasible and stable way to cash in his internet celebrity economy. Open an online store to sell meat muffins. Okay, that was too stupid. The god of racing and knife, the soon-to-be rising best actor, was selling meat muffins. If word got out, it would be too embarrassing. He shook his head and decided not to think about these useless things. Anyway, other people were throwing money at him. If he could make a profit, of course, everyone would be happy. It didn't matter if he lost money. He clenched his fists silently and thanked the Tang Jie Foundation in his heart for giving him such a huge gift without saying a word. The boss of this financial group must be an honest boy. Of course, Chen Guang knew that this Tianguang company was just a cover. Its essence was a different name, a different style of Guangdong General Administration. It didn't matter if Tianguang Agency made money or not. It didn't even matter if it could survive for a year or two. The most important thing was that during this period of time that the elders needed, Chen Guang had to jump around outside loud enough to leave a good impression on those inner force users that they had all forgotten about their past unhappiness. In the future, he would become an internet celebrity and earn money, and they would continue to hide in the ground and be the local tyrants. The logic was that simple. He just didn't know who this rich and capricious Tang Jie Foundation was. Why would they give him $20 million for free? Did they have too much money to burn? In the end, he continued flipping through the document. When he saw the introduction of Tang Jie Foundation, he burst out laughing. The chairman and biggest shareholder's name was an old acquaintance. It was Tang Ying's genius younger brother, Tang Xiaokai. Okay, this young man wasn't stupid. He was smart. No wonder. No matter how talented a person was, there was a limit. This young man was doing well in foreign investments at such a young age. He actually got involved in such a high-end matter. As expected, this meant that the so-called Tang Jie Foundation had the shadow of the Chinese higher-ups behind it from the beginning. In a sense, his $20 million of financing, which was almost like giving away for free, was very meaningful. Chen Guang silently tightened his pockets. This was called someone sending him a pillow when he wanted to sleep. Just as he was feeling distressed that he had spent too much on speculation, someone sent him money. This old man doesn't know much about business, but it's written in black and white on this top-secret file that my mission during this period of time is to do my best to produce, and to strive to produce all this money. I must also make a name for myself, and make a name for myself. Thinking of what Jin Shuriwei had whispered to him previously, Chen Guang came to a tacit understanding with the old men in Yanjing. Fine, you want me to create more trouble and distract some people's attention. In that case, I'll respectfully accept. Tremble, the whole world. I'll let you see what it means by there's no such thing as the most prodigal, only more prodigal. I can't take it anymore. I'm losing control of my power. I can't control my prodigal soul anymore. The scary prodigal soul is about to devour my rationality. Why does it feel so good when I think about spending other people's money? Burn. My prodigal soul. Why are you smiling so wretchedly? Xianxia, who had been paying attention to him, felt a chill from the bottom of her heart when she saw his expression. Chen Guang touched his face. Am I? Look at my righteous eyes. Are you intimidated by my righteousness? Little Xianxia, listen carefully. The burden on our shoulders is very heavy. We must successfully complete the task given by the leaders and return the great Wuxia to its former glory. Screw you. Remember, the people from Tangjie Foundation don't know that Tianguang Brokerage is essentially our Guangding General Office. Don't let the cat out of the bag when we meet up tomorrow. Chen Guang nodded. Nonsense. Do I need you to tell me that? Am I the director or are you the director? You don't have any self-awareness as a deputy director at all. Director, do you need a Lolita massage? Xianxia squeezed her fingers. Her joints crackled. With bone strength, she could make her fingers as loud as thunder. Chen Guang rejected her righteously. Comrade, the revolution has not succeeded yet. We still need to work hard. Now is not the time to enjoy the sugar-coated bullets of capitalism like a Lolita massage. Pfft. Xianxia returned to the room next door. Chen Guang rushed to lock the door. Ever since the Lolita rubbed his back yesterday, she had become irritable. Strange. Menopause at such a young age? He didn't know that Xianxia was heartbroken. She had sacrificed so much, but she didn't even get a peek at the slightest bit of dancing volume. She watched as Chen Guang turned the medicine into a watery soup on the spot without getting anything out of it. On the other side, the financial genius of a generation, who had dominated the domestic and foreign investment market for many years, stirred up a storm. He once fought with the Soros Fund for 300 rounds and still managed to keep his underwear. He deserved the title of genius. He was known as Wall Street's little white dragon, but now he was scolding someone on the phone. Xiao Kai, what are you thinking about? I know you are doing well now, but do you have to invest so much money in Qinguang because of me? Tang Ying stood in the garden of the provincial hospital. She didn't have the amiable Dr. Xiao Tang in the eyes of the patients. Instead, she was like a crazy tigress. Sis, listen to me. It's really not like that. Tang Xiaokai was almost like a Spartan. What have I done to deserve this? It's already distressing enough that I inexplicably informed those old men in Yanjing to let me pour out $20 million of cash flow into the water. But it wasn't over. When the news from Wall Street got out, somehow my sister got the news. After I dealt with those old men, I still have to scold my sister. What are you explaining? I don't need you to explain anything. I don't need you to meddle in the matters between me and Qinguang. Your sister has been holding it in with great difficulty. Forget it, I don't want to talk to you about this. You are too extravagant. Qinguang is an internet celebrity now and has quite a reputation. But the internet celebrity economy is a bubble. It will burst if you poke it with a needle. Isn't this money? Tang Ying was indeed very angry. There was a time when she couldn't deny that her relationship with Qinguang had become a little strange. Especially after they went to the movies together, she felt that this kid was so considerate. She didn't even resist helping him with that thing. She would even think of those things from time to time and secretly blush, but she couldn't feel any disgust in her heart. But later, because of Wu Tong, she and Qinguang didn't see each other much. It seemed that the awkwardness and ambiguity in the past could be forgotten. Maybe they could slowly return to a normal friendship. Although she had interrogated him under Wu Tong's name when the news about him and Jin Shirue broke out, Tang Ying couldn't deny the joy in her heart when she heard his firm answer. But time was the strongest detergent in the world. It could wash away too many things. She almost thought that she was about to succeed, but Tang Xiaokai made such a thing. Of course she was angry. Sister, I can't explain it to you. Anyway, don't worry about it. Just pretend that you don't know anything. How can I pretend that I don't know? It's 20 million US dollars. Just wait and see. I have to call Dad and see if he won't beat you up. It's useless even if you call Dad. He knows about it too. What? Dad knows? Tang Ying was shocked. How could you tell him about it? Hey, that's not right. I didn't tell him. He told me. Forget it, I really can't tell you. I'm very confused about it, but it involves some secrets, especially scary secrets. It really has nothing to do with you. It's just a coincidence. Sister, think about it. I'm a smart businessman. I'll get it back even if I have to. How could I throw away 20 million US dollars just to make you happy? Who's happy? Who are you talking about? I'm not happy at all. I'm super unhappy. You're all bullying me. Chapter 606. Tang Ying hung up the phone. She recalled Wu Tong's call 2 days ago. At that time, Wu Tong told her, Lady Ying, your sister Tong won't be able to return to Wujing anytime soon. Help me keep a close eye on Qin Guang. Don't let those strange little vixens wander around him. He's rich and famous now. You know he can't resist them. You have to help me keep an eye on him. My good sister, can you please help me with this? Tang Ying was afraid that she would steal what she was guarding, so she refused to help. But in the end, she couldn't persuade Wu Tong. Wu Tong didn't want her to have too much contact with Qin Guang either. She only asked her to meet Qin Guang from time to time and have a meal with him. Even if they couldn't have a meal together, they could chat on WeChat. Tang Ying nodded. In fact, Wu Tong was worried about Qin Guang's situation. But she was in a special situation now and couldn't contact Qin Guang too much. So she wanted to take a detour and keep track of Qin Guang's movements through Tang Ying. But she didn't want Tang Ying to get involved too much. So she asked Tang Ying if she was willing to send a WeChat message to ask about Qin Guang. On the other side, Tang Xiaokai held his phone anxiously and didn't know what to say. It seemed that his sister was mad. Alas, forget it. I'll explain it to her slowly after this mess is over. Not long after, he received another call from Tang Ying. You've invested 20 million US dollars. Did you send a vice president over to help you? No, I don't think it's necessary. Tang Xiaokai said honestly. Actually, he wanted to send someone, but his father hinted that he shouldn't think about making money from this business. He also didn't want someone to represent him to keep an eye on Qin Guang. He just wanted Qin Guang to focus on building the company. As long as he didn't run out of money in a month or two, it would be a success. Screw you. You're all crazy. Even if I want to pull Qin Guang along for your sister's sake, I can't just watch you guys mess around like this. It's fine if you don't want to send a vice president, I'll go. Tang Ying thought about it and finally said so. You're going? Don't. What? You have a problem with that? Or are you saying that I, Tang Ying, Tang Xiaokai's sister, don't have the right to represent you? Don't forget that I also have a share in Tang Jia's fund. As a shareholder of the Tang Jia Foundation, I have the right to pay attention to the fund's investment. Why don't I call a shareholders meeting now and let the other shareholders vote for me to be the investor representative? Tang Xiaokai opened her mouth wide and couldn't say a word for a long time. She could only say in a muffled voice, then, all right, I only have one thing to say. Don't worry about how Qin Guang spends his money. Shut up. The rest is my problem. Tang Ying hung up the phone with a bang. She rolled up her sleeves in high spirits. She didn't care anymore. It was 20 million US dollars. She really didn't know what her father and brother were thinking. Since the money was already thrown out, she had to do something. Tang Ying, can't just watch you guys mess around. The sky was just beginning to brighten, and Qin Guang purposely woke up early. Considering that he was going to be promoted from a monk to a real CEO Chen and boss Guang, he decided to take good care of himself. At the very least, he had to get a beautiful hairstyle. Then, he stood silently in front of the mirror for 30 seconds. It only took him 1 second to tidy up his new hairstyle. He took a handkerchief and gently wiped his bald head, revealing his shiny, fashionable bald head. Done. When are you going to change this car logo back? Xen Qin had already complained about Qin Guang's car logo more than once. What do you know? This is called fashion. Fashion my ass. I'm so uncomfortable. Young lady, your outlook on life is a little off. You need Teacher Chen to teach you a lesson. A person's nobility and luxury don't come from their appearance. Look at my car logo. Although it's a Passat, we all know that it's a Fiat. That's why we look ordinary on the outside but are noble on the inside. This is especially important. Teacher Chen? Do you want to take a picture of me? Xianxia asked. Young lady, don't you learn martial arts? Why are you so knowledgeable? Recently, my master has asked me to learn more about current affairs and to be more wary of you. Anyway, I'm already stuck at the peak of bone force, so there's no point in training hard. If I want to reach skin force, I need more luck. I might as well spend more time on these things. Who knows, maybe understanding the world will give me a sudden epiphany. Both you and your master are knowledgeable. There's a place for you in the new era. Chen Guang turned his face away and thought to himself, what the hell is this Qinjue sect? I might as well call it Qinjue Old Drivers Driving School. On the way, Xianxia contacted the people from the Tangjie Foundation. They acted quickly and actually rented a conference room at the famous Kaibin Grand Hotel in the city. The press conference was set for 10 a.m. Forget about what the newly established Tianguang company was going to do. They had to hold the press conference first and make their name known. Chen Guang, who was driving, pricked up his ears to eavesdrop on the voice of the person related to the Tangjie Foundation who was talking to Xianxia. His heart was itching. The other party seemed to be a female comrade with a beautiful voice. With the old man's years of experience, he could tell that the other party was definitely a beauty. Tang Xiaokai was indeed one of them. He knew the old man's preferences too well. How could I accept this? I'm using your money, and you're sending a beauty to contact me. This young man is a lay phone. Oh right. Xianxia, what's the name of the person we're meeting with at the Tangjie Foundation? Chen Guang decided to find out first. If he confirmed that the other party was a beauty, he had to be polite. Tanging. Damn it. Chen Guang almost crashed his head into a telephone pole. It wasn't that he didn't want to see Tang Ying. His relationship with Tang Ying wasn't just an ordinary one, so it was impossible for him to have any opinions about Tang Ying. However, this Tianguang company was just a cover for the Guangdong headquarters, and he didn't want Tang Ying to get involved. What was Tang Xiaokai doing? What's wrong with you? Xianxia asked when she saw that his expression wasn't right. Chen Guang shook his head. Nothing. Forget it. With Tang Xiaokai's status, he and his Tangjie Foundation were only responsible for taking the money. They weren't qualified to know the secrets of inner force martial artists. Moreover, this was one of the secret plans of those old men in Beijing, so it was even more impossible for him to know the inside story. Speaking of which, could it be that Tang Ying thought that Tang Xiaokai was taking out the money to sponsor her, an internet celebrity, for her sake, so she took the initiative to get involved? The more he thought about it, the more likely it seemed. When the two of them arrived at the Kaibin Hotel, there were already a lot of reporters surrounding the hotel lobby and parking lot. Although the internet celebrity all-rounder wasn't considered a big star, considering his identity as Jin Shiyue's boyfriend and the fact that he had the highest amount of funding in the history of internet celebrities, as well as the fact that he had just completed a phenomenal competition yesterday, it wasn't strange for news about him to attract so many media outlets overnight. Chen Guang was recognized as soon as he got out of the car. At this moment, a large group of people raised their weapons and surrounded Chen Guang and Xianxia, who got out of the car, tightly encircled Chen Guang and Xianxia. Mr. Chen, I heard that the Tangjie Foundation deliberately offered a sky-high price in order to get the opportunity to work with you. How do you plan to use the $20 million? Mr. Chen, the concept of being an internet celebrity in our country has been around for almost a decade. However, you've only been famous for less than 3 months, and you've already become the publicly acknowledged #1 internet celebrity in China. What do you think of this? I heard that you and Jin Shiyue only meet each other once in a while. Will your relationship be affected if you spend more time apart than together? A while ago, the famous actor, Li Longwei, publicly expressed his love for Jin Shiyue on Weibo. What do you think of this? Do you have anything to say? This morning, the famous entertainment reporter, Zhuo Wei, the founder of 8 Weekly, said on his Weibo that there's something fishy about the cooperation between the Tangjie Foundation and you. May I know who the fishy person is? Why does he have it? Mr. Chin, your Dota Throne Challenge has achieved unprecedented success. I'm also a veteran Dota player and your die-hard fan. May I know what your next business plan will be? As far as I know, you're not only good at games, your racing skills are second to none in the world. You've even won the World Darts Championship with undisputed results. May I know when you're planning to participate in the WRC World Rally Championship? Currently, there hasn't been a Chinese person who has achieved a dominant victory in the WRC. We really hope to see your exciting performance in the WRC. Mr. Chin, the famous director, Mr. Deng Xiaojiang, will be holding a signing ceremony for his new movie next week. You've interacted with Deng Xiaojiang on Weibo before. May I know if you'll really be acting in director Deng's new movie? A whole bunch of questions came out of the reporters' mouths like a machine gun. Not only were these guys asking questions, they were also trying to stuff their microphones into Qin Guang's face. The one closest to them almost stuffed the microphone into Qin Guang's mouth. There were a few times when he wanted to open his mouth to speak, but he ended up banging the microphone until his teeth hurt. Ever since he became a celebrity, this was the first time Qin Guang had encountered such a situation. He didn't want to admit it, but he was actually a little anxious. Oh my God, how can I answer all these questions? Moreover, there are a lot of things that I'm completely clueless about, okay? But if I don't say anything, will I look very ungentlemanly? Will I look like I don't know how to handle public relations? No, I have to do something. At the very least, I have to pretend to be an experienced person. No, that's not right. The old man is the great sage, right, Qin? The old man can even fool more than 170 billion people in the instantaneous sea. Why would he be afraid of you little reporters? At this moment, an extremely discordant voice emerged from the crowd. This guy's voice was very loud. Hello, Mr. Qin. I'm Zhuo Xiaowei, a special correspondent from 8 Weekly. Zhuo Wei is my father. Previously, there were rumors that your private life was very indecent. May I ask if the rumors are true? The little girl in the car with you is so beautiful. What is her identity? Does she have some unspeakable relationship with you? The noisy crowd suddenly quietened down. This guy's question was very sharp. Moreover, it was obvious that he was making groundless accusations. Up until now, Chen Guang's so-called indecent behavior could only be attributed to Zhuo Jingxi. However, Chen Guang didn't believe that anyone would notice his and Zhuo Jingxi's situation at that time. Other than that, perhaps Wenwen could also be counted as one. However, how could Wenwen's movements be captured by these people? And Annie? How could that be possible? So, this unlucky octopus was obviously here to stir up trouble. Zhuo Wei's words earlier were fishy. Now, there was this Zhuo Xiaowei's impromptu performance. They must be trying to stir up some dirt on him to attract attention. He was right. Once Zhuo Xiaowei's question came out, no one else was in a hurry to ask. Everyone wanted to know how he would answer Zhuo Xiaowei's question. Seeing that his question had shocked the crowd and calmed them down, Zhuo Xiaowei was extremely pleased. Our Zhuo family still has 8 Weekly. They are an experienced team that specializes in stirring up dirt on us. I really didn't let my old man down. I've learned from him. Let's see how you answer. No matter what you say, I'll be able to come up with something. Even if you say no comment, it's fine. I can still come up with something. Zhuo Xiaowei had even thought of a title. Goddess's Romance exists in name only, all-round internet celebrity keeping his mistress away, avoiding private life. At that moment, Zhuo Xiaowei did not notice that the super beautiful little girl he claimed to have an unspeakable relationship with Chen Guang had quietly stood beside Chen Guang and stared at him. Chen Guang watched this scene and looked sympathetically at the smug young man. He thought to himself, to be honest, I really want to have an unspeakable relationship with Xen Qin, but I can't beat her. Zhuo Xiaowei did not know that danger was approaching. Seeing that Chen Guang was silent, he thought that he had hit the nail on the head. He pressed further, Chen Guang, please answer my question directly. After all, you are a public figure. Public figure? So what if I'm a public figure? Do you guys have to broadcast the entire process of a public figure squatting on the toilet? Chen Guang still did not speak. Instead, it was Xen Qin who spoke with her crisp voice. Zhuo Xiaowei looked at Xen Qin with some displeasure. This is a serious interview. Why is a high school student like you messing around? How much does Chen Guang give you every month for living expenses? Fine, he had already set up a very good identity for Xen Qin, a high school student who was kept as a mistress. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. Young man, why are you so good at this? I'm really thankful that you didn't say that I'm a middle school student. At least a high school student can reach the age of 16, so it's not illegal. I've seen people like you before. Now the grass on his grave is enough to start a horse farm. Zhuo Xiaowei from 8 Weekly, right? Didn't you just ask me what my identity is? Now you think I'm a high school student? You want to know how much I earn every month? Xan Qin tilted her head and blinked at Zhuo Xiaowei with her big, bright eyes. She looked very innocent, very pure, and very cute. Zhuo Xiaowei was overjoyed. He thought he had really caught a big scoop this time. This Chen Guang was not professional at keeping a mistress. He had actually found such an insensible one. Just now, he had deliberately thrown some blame at them so that he could make up some material when he went back. He never thought that he would actually get something out of her. Many of the other reporters' eyes were also shining. Although they were not paparazzi media like 8 Weekly, this was a super big scoop that could shake the entertainment industry. Who wouldn't want to get first-hand information at the first scene? That's right, young lady. As long as you're willing to have a good chat with me, I promise that 8 Weekly will give you 10 times the amount that Chen Guang gave you. Zhuo Xiaowei said resolutely. Xen Qin smiled again. He gave me 10 million last month, and then he gave me 5 million last week. Mr. Zhuo, are you going to give me 150 million? Gasp. For a moment, the whole audience was silent, and there was the sound of people gasping. This little girl's maintenance fee was so high that it made people's hair stand on end. Many entertainment reporters even looked at Chen Guang eagerly. Their eyes seemed to be saying, Tycoon, do you still need a leg ornament? Is it limited to male and female? If necessary, it's not like we can't discuss it. Some entertainment reporters who were eager to get rich and felt that their image was passable tightened their buttocks a little, and their chrysanthemums inexplicably itched. Some of the female reporters even felt weak all over. Their eyes were burning, and their hearts itched uncontrollably. 15 million for 2 months. If it was true, it would be too scary. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.